very fantastic drive. Alex, Ewan, victorious in the Brickyard.
Well, this is it then. A grand finale, if ever I have seen one. And could there be a better location than here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the Brickyard? Our first venture into oval racing in the second season of IndyPro was met with fantastic racing throughout, plenty of green flag pit stops, and a little bit of carnage in the middle towards the end as well to boot. But with the eyes set not only on the title of the Series Championship, but of course on the champion of Indianapolis, this is set to be a truly thrilling climax to what has already been a fantastic season. Just one driver in the top 5 of the championship finished inside of the top 10 at Apple Valley, and with that it takes us to a very tight title race. Dennis Jordan leading, 2 points back Berliak, 6 points further back Roivers, and 9 points further back than that Jan Vosnitzer. Just one of those drivers though can win the title, so let's get this going then. Round 5 of 5, the season finale of the Formula Sim Racing IndyPro Series here for the Indy300, brought to you by SimLab, Masita eSports and 3D Wrap. There is no Cameron Roger in the commentary booth this time. He stepped aside to jump into the car. He won Indy Am a little bit earlier today, and he'll be joining us on the grid here in IndyPro. You'll just have to wait to go and see him on track. Unfortunately, in the booth, though, it's myself, Lewis McGlade, welcoming the return, of course, of Ewan O'Leary. We had fun here last season. Our title leader was victorious on that day, but I think Dennis Jordan might have a bit of a tougher time today, don't you think?
Yeah, he's got his work cut out, but all of these guys have at the end of the day. We had great fun last year, really, with this race. I thought actually after the first few laps, when we had a bit of a messy start, it was going to be a complete disaster, but it wasn't. It was a great race by the end. We had a fantastic finish, a very fast finish as well, and we got a good kind of introduction to oval racing a week ago, and a bit of a teaser as to what we might expect over the 300 miles here this evening. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. These races are always interesting in isolation, and now that we've got a championship on the line, as you mentioned as well, it just adds an extra layer to it, so it should be a good evening.
There was a warning shot though from race direction towards all of our drivers, towards the effect of, this isn't Apple Valley. Apple Valley, 2 miles, nice and wide. This, 2.5 miles, but very, very tight indeed. It is a tricky circuit. We're already into qualifying, and once again how qualifying works in the series. 4 laps they have to do. It is the average time over the 4 laps essentially. The run as a consistency rather than just a one single lap. On the tower, anyone with an O next to their name, like for example Morville, who we're looking at here, or Cameron Roger, Howard, etc., those that have the circle next to their name, those are the drivers that have progressed from Indy Am into IndyPro for today's race, and there is a good few of them and some great names to join the grid.
Yeah, absolutely. Some great names, and they're going to really be shaking this one up. Not going to be scoring constructors' points in this race, by the way. But they will score drivers' points. So in terms of that championship at the front, we will see potentially some of these AM drivers or Indy AM drivers, we might end up calling them, taking some points off of the main contenders. So do watch out for that. But in terms of the teams, it is completely, well, they're not really involved. But it's also kind of academic anyway, since NetRex are currently leading those standings by 68 points, which is a very, very healthy margin considering there's only 50 for the race win here.
Yeah, it is absolutely fantastic how well NetRex have done. But part of that is due to having 2 drivers that are in championship contention. Kind of watched them at Apple Valley. They were running quite well. By the way, when I made that note earlier in the broadcast of just one driver in the top 4 finished inside the top 10 in that race, it's kind of not really doing their pace justice. The NetRex drivers came into some very, very poor luck later in the race, getting involved in an instance that really wasn't their fault, and unfortunately dropped them down. Jan Vosnitzer, for example, finished in 22nd position. Certainly not out of the championship when you say about those 50 points that are up for grabs, but you need to make sure that this qualifying session goes very, very well indeed. And it's not going to be easy. Remember, all of the drivers that have just done Indiam, they're already up to speed with the racetrack. They've already got their consistency, etc., their experience on the racetrack. And I know it doesn't matter quite as much in a series where it is fixed setup, etc. It's still, you've got the nerves already out of your system. You've done Indiam, you've got through that, you've got through the qualifying, you've got through the race, you're into Indy Pro now. Your nerves are already starting to settle. For those drivers that might be doing their first couple of laps, and especially when you've got a title up for grabs, and track position around here is quite important, yeah, it could be a little bit of a stressful moment for some of the teams.
Yes, certainly. It's going to be stressful for everybody at the minute, really, because I think Indianapolis is such a dangerous race to get to the end of. Getting in, we talk about this with endurance racing, like 24-hour racing and so on. Getting to the end is an achievement, but I really think it is here as well. Really, even though it's only 300 miles, we're going to be. I'd be surprised if it goes on for 2 hours or much longer than 2 hours if we do get to that point. So even though it's not that long in terms of the actual length of the race, it's still an achievement to get to the end of this one, because there is going to be chaos today. There's going to be crashes. A lot of people aren't going to make it. People are going to be laps down. There's going to be bodywork strewn across everywhere at some point as well. It's going to be a messy race at times, and when incidents happen in front of you, it's difficult to avoid around here as well. So having the pressure is on, certainly in qualifying right now, and everybody's just going to want to make it to the race. But I do take your point about Indiam drivers being a little bit warmed up for this one, but this is another step up, really. The level of drivers that they'll be up against here in this particular race compared to what they had an hour or two ago is really streets apart.
Yeah, it really is. Well, we'll see David Marocek. We'll see Cameron Roger doing his lap as well. So we're into the second grouping, of course, them going out in groups of 3, 5, etc. I think it was just 3 in the first group between Hallows, Morvo and Moralato. We're on board with Marocek, got Cameron Roger, got Mistral in here, also got Zolt Stuch and Howard as well. The 5 drivers are part of this group. It does mean as we're building up, sending them out at a time, it is in reverse championship order. So once we get down towards that meaty part of the session, well, we're talking about our protagonists going toe-to-toe on the racetrack against each other, trying to set the best times. And I will remind you of last round in the qualifying session, a little bit of an issue for Peterborough. He wasn't assigned to a group because the various issues pre-qualifying for him. Ended up going out as the very, very last car. And got himself a pole position as well. Literally just jumped in the car and was like, right, I've got to go and do this. And it was a great little stint from the 2015 Formula Sim Racing World Champion. There's Cameron Roger, your Indiam winner at the moment, setting a decent average speed to open it up with, but the average speed does seem to peak on the second lap and then drops off on the third and fourth as the front right starts to scream just a little bit. And you can see there the third lap a little bit slower than the average that he'd need to do to move himself up into what would presently be provisional pole position.
Yeah, it's looking good for Marocek right now. Roger might well get himself into second, but we'll see. But certainly David Marocek is running strongly. A little bit of a surprise actually at the start of the season not to see him in Indy Pro at all, actually. Considering the way Burst eSport have struggled, really. Damien Skrovron and Mitchy Hoyer have not been having the greatest time of it. So a little bit surprised not to see the likes of Marocek. We did see Simonchich make an appearance, and he had an all right time of things. I think it was at Sebring when he made a bit of an appearance. It was indeed, and indeed at the last race at Apple Valley as well. But he's Marocek here now, going to the front by a couple of tenths there in terms of miles per hour, that is. Cam Roger making himself into third position. Not bad times looking up and down at the moment. All of these guys slotting into a very similar kind of region between 2 and 4 tenths of a mile an hour down on Marocek, who's storming away just a little bit.
A little bit concerned there by the line that Zolt Stuch had done, but he's already finished off his stint either way. Howard across the line, the final one from this group, as he'll move up into 5th position at the moment. The benchmark is obviously David Marocek's 228.5 mile an hour stint. That, I'm going to say early days, but I'm going to say it'll be beaten. Kind of thought the same thing last round, but then one of the early times did actually stand the test of time. It was one that was done by Boller, if I remember correctly, who'd gone in from Indiam after absolutely decimating the grid in Indiam, and to be honest, doing very, very well through the race. Ended up second position on the day. It was Yuri Kasdorp who was victorious last week after missing Sebring, so we'll see his return as well to the Brickyard. There is Michi Hoyer, you said before, been struggling this season, jumped back in obviously after missing the last couple of races, courtesy of Jone Simičić jumping in at Sebring and Apple Valley, but his results are starting. Now, I had to scroll quite far down the championship standings to find Michi Hoyer. Just two top 20s in the opening two races of the season, and the two afterwards, 23rd and a retirement. Not a good start to the season, the 4 races that he's done. Comes back here to the Brickyard, potentially eyeing up a result, but now he's got no pressure on his shoulders. It's just go out, have a race, try and have fun.
Yeah, I think he will just be out there having a bit of fun today, but really not been getting on with this car, I have to say. He's been every time we've run on board with him, his arms have been everywhere trying to control this car, coming out of the corners, going through the corners. There's not a lot of downforce going on. There's quite a lot of oversteer. He hasn't really been able to get on with the car at all in any way, and it's really showing in those results. Maybe now he can maybe do something in this session, but certainly not looking particularly strong. Adam Maguire's not doing badly here. Has a shot at pole, but I think Mrocek might just have about enough to hang on as they're slowing down after reaching the peak at lap 2, slowing down ever so slightly now for lap 4. But yeah, Hoyer looks like he's going to slot himself in to the top 10, but I'll be very surprised if he stays there for the remainder of this qualifying session. It's just been the story of his season, really. Not a typical Michi Hoyer season. After a dream World Championship, it's not been a good Indy Pro.
No, I mean, you say Dream World Championship. I don't think he'll be
nearly.
looking back on the Netherlands with such fondness, unfortunately, with his issues there. Adam Maguire, though, up to the top of the session, going 0.16 of a mile an hour faster than Davor Mrocek. Really, really nice lap there from Maguire, a driver who's not had particularly the greatest season elsewhere in sim racing. Has struggled in a couple of other championships, but now seems to be putting in his best work when it matters most for him. Pinsesh goes into 7th position, and then Michi Hoyer goes 9th position. Danny Van Der Neet at the rear end of the field. We focus on our Apple Valley winner then, as Yuri Kasdorp hits the track. Schmidt, McDuff, Pignataro and Rietveld are part of this group. We'll focus a little bit on McDuff, actually, just a little bit, because I remember last season was moving up in the final moments of the race. I think he was running in 4th place, if I remember correctly, in those dying moments, and then a bit of an issue with one of the cars ahead, a lag moment, and he was sent quite far over the fence, is about as lightly as you can put it. Had an automatic transfer into this race after replacing Dennis Jordan, same as he did at Apple Valley. To be honest, could do quite well in this race.
Yeah, he always seems to run quite well in oval racing, and at least from what I've seen him, he always runs quite strongly. He was up there last year, as you say, and the pressure's completely off for him as well. I know we're starting to get up towards the front of the order, sort of here. These guys who have scored a relatively good amount of points throughout this season. We're starting to get up to those now, but it's still completely pressure off at this point for him, and he'll be hoping to use that experience that he built up 1 year ago to try and run well again. He's kind of holding pace with Yuri Kasdorp at the moment, who's miles in front of everybody else in terms of where they are on the circuit. Is this going to be enough to get towards Adam Maguire and Davor Mrocek? Maybe, but I think Maguire might just be able to weather this storm from Kasdorp.
Really good third lap, though, from Yuri Kasdorp. We'll see what Rory McDuff's is, because first and second lap, building in speed. If he can get into the high 2:28s, this could be quite a nice little run from Rory McDuff. We'll see what he could do across the line. Yuri Kasdorp's on his final lap and just behind McDuff, so we'll see where he slots into when it comes to the grand scheme of things. McDuff, third lap. 0.7, decent, not quite as good as Kasdorp's. Let's see what Kasdorp does across the line. Good enough to go into second position after dropping off just a little bit of speed there on his fourth and final lap. Kaz Rietveld, all of these drivers, by the way, Yuri Kasdorp, Kaz Rietveld, these are drivers that are looking to assist their teammates in the championship run. Of course, two Netrex drivers battling it out for a championship, as well as Yuri Kasdorp's teammate in Dennis Jordan. We'll see what Kaz Rietveld does across the line. Goes up into 7th spot, and Schmidt goes up into 4th.
Yeah, what about Roy McDuff? He's running quite well at the moment. This group as a whole has actually had quite a good run by the looks of things. Third position for him, less than a tenth of a mile an hour down on Adam Maguire. So he has put in a good performance there. Schmidt from this group doing well as well. Pignataro is going to finally come to the line here to finish off his run. And it's 4th for him as well. So we are going to tend to go quicker as we go down the order, since we're going up in championship standings. You know, in theory, these guys further up the order are going to be a little bit better with this car and a little bit faster. But after all, you do have to still get it right. But everybody in the last group doing a very good job there to get up towards the front. And now only, I think this is the third last one now, including Fabien Barlet, who was excellent last week.
Yeah, really was sensational when it came to his oval prowess. Wasn't particularly saving fuel, but was doing the mileage at the front of the field. I believe led the most laps at Apple Valley of everyone on the grid after winning Indian. We'll see what he does across the line on his first lap. To start out the session at 2:28.4, not particularly eye-wateringly quick, as the RSR driver of Stepkovsky is ahead of him at the moment with a 2:28.454. But the first lap, you're going to build a little bit of speed. We've seen this, building a little bit of speed through the second lap. The third lap, if that's better, fantastic. Fourth lap, you are going to drop off a little bit of speed. So to see a 2:28.7, if you can kind of keep that speed, maybe go just 0.1 of a mile an hour faster on the third lap, this could be a nice, tidy little run coming in from Stepkovsky.
Yeah, it's certainly developing into a nice, good run. And if he's anywhere near Fabien Barlet, then he's going to be in the right position, and that's exactly what's happened here. At 77 thousandths of a mile an hour behind at the moment, Barlet, and that's a very good indicator of how well Stepkovsky's going. I know it's hard to tell. Normally in a road racing qualifying, we can kind of tell how a lap's going, but with oval racing, because the differences are so minute, it's hard to tell. At the moment, Stepkovsky looks like he's doing a decent job. As you mentioned, crucial to get that third lap a little bit quicker if you can. And you do know somebody's going well if they can indeed do that. But I still don't think it's quite going to be enough to overhaul Maguire, who's starting to stand the test of time here.
Stepkovsky, though, you can see there that 2:28.831, that is the fastest lap of anyone throughout the entire running of this qualifying session by in normal money, 5,000ths of a second. We'll see what he can do off of the final corner and see if this run is good enough to slap him up into pole position. It could potentially do so as long as this lap is fast enough. Over the run, though, not quite good enough. And Adam Maguire is hanging on at the top of the session. Next one coming through, let's keep our eye on Barla, who's running around T4 now, and we'll have that punch towards the line. Of course, you've got to keep your eye out just ahead of him. Lalu as well, who'll cross the line to finish his stint, moves up into 7th position. Barla going to move up only 10th. That's not quite good enough for the runner-up at Apple Valley.
No, absolutely not. The last lap was a 2:28.2 in terms of mile an hour, which is a lot slower than you would like to see from it. Even his fastest lap, though, to be fair, is only a 0.6, and we've seen the best Stepkovsky managed to 0.8, and he did a couple of 0.7s in there as well. So Barlet really off colour there compared to where we were expecting to see him. Big surprise. And a big upset there to see him so far down the order. It's going to be entertaining to watch him attempt to come through the field.
Yeah, which is this is like the top moment where that was a little bit wide there from Thomas Vac as he's going to start his stint. That was not ideal, but this is the best example of any track where the thing that I always say about that's a terrible start to the lap. But to be fair, kind of makes sense considering he went up into the wall on the exit of T4, JR Hildebrand style as well. But you either want to start at the front of the field or at the back of the field. Starting in the middle of the field is almost a death sentence. It's so difficult around here. Coming out of T4, having that start, everyone side by side, everyone thinks that they've got to make their move now going into turn one. This is the example where we do typically see cautions very early, and if we get through the first lap without a caution, here today, we'll be doing very, very well. And that is not even me messing around a little bit. Apple Valley's so wide, you've got plenty of room to work with. Here, it narrows very, very quickly like a funnel down into T1.
Yeah, it does really, and yeah, as you mentioned, given we're starting 3 wide already, it's not great, not a good idea. So yeah,
it's bad though.
It's well, yeah, well, yeah, but maybe not for those who end their race at turn 1. But we'll, hopefully it works out all fine. Hopefully everybody is going to be cautious into the first couple of corners, because that's really what you need. But yeah. This group, very, very close together. Bock, Duval, Reed and Martin, at least, doing a very good job and sticking very close to each other, I have to say. Even if they're not setting the world on fire with their actual times at the minute, they're staying very close together. The reason I left Thomas Vack out of that is because of what we saw a little bit earlier on. You know, just scraping the wall. That was the end of his first lap coming through turn 4. Just scraped the wall. It would have ruined his momentum for not only that lap, but the one after that as well. So he's going to do well not to be starting last. I think Danny van der Neet and Mistral as well had not the greatest of laps either. So it would probably be with those guys. Everybody else seemed to have pretty clean runs and very small margins between them.
Carlos Martin not particularly setting the world alight with these times at the moment, as Yannick Bock goes into 14th position as Jacob Reed gets up inside the top 10. Carlos Martin, as much as he might be driving for Valley, he's there in assistance realistically of his team Netrex that he's been running, so keep an eye on him. Liam Duval goes up into 7th position. Decent lap there from Wolves. We are approaching our final group, and by the way, I did get word from Race Control, because I was a little bit concerned, are we going to do a 3-wide start or a 2-wide start? It is a 2-wide start we're going to do here in turn 1. Yeah, exactly, because we tried 3-wide last year and I do remember it didn't go very well at all. It was turn 1 before we had our first incident, and so we are avoiding that topic as Carlos Martin goes behind Jake Dennehan and up into 11th position. The final group is now.
Yeah, the pressure is on for not only this man but 3 of the others with him at the moment. Skrovron is just going to attempt to do the best he can in this particular race. He is 5th in the championship, which is a very good performance from him, I think, but he is 62 points back on Dennis Jordan. Impossible for him to get the title here. It's between the top 4, Dennis Jordan, Noah Roivers, Jan Vosdicker and Peter Berliak on your screen right now. So yeah, it's pressure on massively for all of them. Looks like Jordan, Roivers and Vosdicker have done pretty well through their first laps. Where's Berliak going to be in this opening? He's going to be right at the end. This qualifying session really is going to finish on a crescendo, which is fantastic to see. Where is he? It's right in the mix. They're all very close together.
Gotta say, that first lap from Dennis Jordan, you can see it on your sheets there. It was a purple first lap. It was faster than anyone else's opening to the stint. Whether that means that he might burn out his front right, we'll have to wait and see. Second lap, not a purple second lap, but still a very, very good time indeed. Tracking really nicely, our championship leader right now, and certainly faster than all of his championship rivals as well. Jan Vosnitzer not really having the pace of the group. You can see there 0.3 of a mile an hour down. Noah Roivers nearly 0.2. Skrovron is going to be moving up ahead of him. What does Peter Berliak do across the line to go the midpoint of the stint? 0.1 of a mile an hour, moving ahead of both of the Netrex drivers.
Yeah, and Rosnica especially having a bad time of things there. He's 0.3 of a mile an hour down on Jordan at the moment, and he's really letting the other 4 in this group get away from him. Dennis Jordan continuing to push this lead out. It's a 2:28.7. This is right on the money for Dennis Jordan. He just needs, if he can do that lap time again, he might just have enough to get himself onto the front couple of rows. I don't think Adam Maguire is going to be displaced here. It would be a remarkable performance for him to hang on, but I think he might just about do it.
Yeah, I think it's just got enough in the tank. Dennis Jordan, we typically see the 4th lap is one where they drop a little bit of speed. I think the fastest 4th lap was something in the vein of a 2:28.65 rather than the required 2:28.7, 2:28.75. We'll see Dennis Jordan, who's off of the final corner now and pushing his way towards the line. Is it going to be pole position for your championship leader? He's going to go across the line and move up into 3rd spot. Noah Roivers just 9th in that title race. Not the stint that he needed. Dennis Jordan did drop off a little bit, but he is importantly just ahead of Yuri Kasdorp, his teammate. Skrovron down towards the line as Jan Bosnitzer hits 17th position, and that almost ends his title hopes. We'll have to wait and see. Skrovron moves him down an extra position as he gets to 7th place, and Berliak from pole position at Apple Valley gets himself up into 8th. Not the dramatic end that we were expecting. Adam Maguire and Stepkowski will start from the front row of the grid, and Dennis Jordan, your championship leader, is ahead of all of his rivals.
Advantage to Dennis Jordan, certainly. We said at the start of the day that he's got his work cut out for him here today. Is he the strongest oval driver out of the front four? Well, he's just made quite a good case that he can hang it with the very best. Third place in that session, alongside his teammate, I think very crucially as well. He is going to get a wide berth into turn number one, whereas the likes of Jan Vosnica, for example, he is going to be in the thick of it into there, and he's going to be lucky to get through the first few laps of this race alive in this one, really, because it's going to be a big mess in the middle of the field. Berliak not too far away, but after all, he does need to beat him by at least, tying on points will give him the championship. So he does need to beat him at some point. Dennis Jordan cannot let Berliak beat him today. Otherwise, he will be displaced from that championship lead. However, he started off in exactly the right manner there. Third position with a teammate alongside. The absolute dream for Dennis Jordan.
Got to say, though, after finishing second in the championship last season, a fairly painful one when he was driving for Evolution, of course, being beaten out by Jurnej Simoncic, which isn't necessarily the worst thing in the world. Jurnej Simoncic is Jurnej Simoncic, our three-time world champion and fantastic driver. It was another season where Dennis Jordan took victory. It was in the final race of the season. It was here at Indianapolis that he took that victory. Is he eyeing up another one? It's going to be a tough day for our drivers. 120 laps are ahead of us to finish off the season. We'll take a look at the championship standings as they are at the moment, and we'll focus on the top four as they are our title rivals, those that are close enough to win the championship. Dennis Jordan, after starting third position on the grid, has 168 points, plenty ahead of Peter Berliak, who outscored him by a single point at Apple Valley. A terrible finale to the race for Noah Roivers and Jan Vosnica for Netrex. They dropped down in the championship chase to being 8 points off and then 17 points off respectively, but still well within the hunt when we've got 50 points up for grabs. Battles are still on. Fairly far behind. Damian Skovron is leading in fifth position from the chasing pack, but look at how close it is. 106 points to him, 106 points to Jacob Reed. No Alan Terzic here today. Carlos Martin starting a bit further down, and of course his eyes on assisting Roivers and Vosnica. Liam Deval, decent qualifying from him, and Thomas Vac in 10th position. They are all well within their rights to go and grab themselves fifth position in this championship, with the exception of Alan Terzic, who isn't here, so he doesn't have any right to that claim. But it's going to be a tight race in that one, and I do not want to be doing the maths on who's figuring out who's going to finish where in that little fight.
Yeah, it's all very complicated. Actually, it's a shame that was not for the actual title, because that really would be entertaining. But we've got a fairly entertaining one coming up now. I think Vosnica has to ideally win this race to even stand a chance of this one, really. And given the fact he's barely qualified inside the top 20 here, he has got his work massively cut out for him, even more than he already did. Noah Roivers is not out of this yet, certainly an outside threat. It's definitely between those front two. But what I will say, maybe this prediction doesn't look quite as clever now that we've seen qualifying, but I feel like if this season had ended with one of the road races where we'd have the split strategies and everything going on, then Dennis Jordan would certainly be the man to beat, having a championship lead coming into one of those. But an oval race, it does have strategy, of course, but not in the same way that the road races did have, in terms of the compounds and when you use those different compounds and getting the most out of those races. I don't think there's anybody better in this field than Dennis Jordan at that, particularly towards the end of the season. Indianapolis he was okay, but fuel saving really set him back a little bit. 3 podiums in a row towards the middle of this season. Because he's exceptional at strategy, it's not as much of an effect here on the ovals. And the fact that Peter Berliak had the fastest lap at Apple Valley does show to me that maybe he is the slightly more skilled oval driver. However, he's certainly attempting to prove me wrong, Dennis Jordan, with that qualifying performance. Yeah,
the issue with that obviously being slipstream playing a huge part of it. We'll have to wait and see how they run through this race, because it is going to be a pretty tense and nervy affair. Just to give you a little bit of insight as well as to how drivers can win the championship, Jan Vosnica, who is the furthest behind the championship, I think let's focus on his challenge for the championship, because you say he's got to win this race. If he does win this race, then where does Dennis Jordan need to be? We'll just focus on that one, because it's kind of like you can apply the same things to Peter Berliak as well. If Jan Vosnica wins the race and Dennis Jordan and Peter Berliak are 9th or lower, he wins the title. because it would go to count back from Dennis Jordan. Dennis Jordan only has a single win. This would move Jan Vosnitsa to having 2 wins. So then Jan Vosnitsa would win the championship as long as Petr Běliak is behind that as well. If Petr Běliak is in 8th position, then Jan Vosnitsa doesn't win the title because on count back, I'm pretty sure Petr Běliak will win.
Well,
it's all complicated.
You say that because they would both have 2 wins, though, if Vosnica would win, and then it would go to second places.
So no, you're right.
Which Vosnica would be 2 second places. So it's all very complicated. I'm hoping it doesn't come down to countback in some ways because that does get a bit complicated. The problem is there are 2 points between most of these positions. Just to kind of give you an update on the point system, it's not quite the same as we've had throughout the season so far. It's 50 points for a win, 3 points is the gap between first and second, then it's 2 points all the way down to 20th and 21st. So we can expect these guys to be finishing inside the top 20. There's basically 2 points between every position. And the problem is Jordan and Běliak and Roivers are all on even points, and then there's quite a high chance it might actually be a tie and a countback for at least some position by the end.
I'm pretty sure the last time we used a countback to decide a title was 2020 in the World Championship with that the team championship, which was unbelievably close.
Outrageous.
Burst eSports winning the championship on countback. It was 0 points between themselves and Evolution, and then the second Burst team, which had Jene Simoncic, they finished only 5 points further back. So crazy tight. Are we going to see similar things today? I wouldn't even begin to ask you for a prediction, but I'll do the same thing that I did to Cam a week ago. I'll have a prediction on something which isn't about race wins or championship. Are we going to get a green flag pit stop in the opening stint of the race?
I think in the opening stint of the race, it's definitely going to be difficult because there's 33 cars out there. They're all going to be charging down towards turn 1. I know there's it's a double file rather than a 3 wide start. However, there's so many cars. There's so much ambition further down the field. You've got the likes of Fabian Barley, who we expected to qualify well. Jan Vosnica down the order. There's some motivated AM drivers as well looking to get up there. I struggle to see that at the opening of this race, but as we get into it, we settle down, there definitely is going to be at least one.
Well, let's take a look at our 33 competitors, plenty of them to get through for the running here at the Indy300. Adam Maguire is going to start this race from pole position. Daniel Stepkowski, Dennis Jordan and Yuri Kasdorp starting up there. Dennis Jordan looking for his first Formula Sim Racing Championship. He'll run this one off from 3rd place. Rory McDuff from inside the top 5 with Pignatari, who had issues with Ricardo Costa last round. And Damian Skovron looking to hang on to top 5 in the championship. He'll start from 7th alongside Petr Běliak with his aspirations on another FSR title. Marocek and Deval start 9th and 10th. Then it's Noah Roivers looking for the title race as well, alongside Jukka-Pekka Laulu starting from 12th position for Royal Blue. Janis Brakshock for Arnage competition, then Jake Dinahan from 14th, and then Carlos Martin alongside his teammate Jacob Reed, who's another one of those drivers looking for 5th in the title, locked on points for that 5th spot. Pascal Schmidt, Fabian Barler, a great oval racer himself, starts from 18th position, when Jan Vosnitsa, our lowest title rival, starts from 19th. Alex Hallows starts from the final position inside the top 20 with Yannick Bock and Cameron Roger, your Indian race winner, alongside Kasprit Velden Zoltschuk from 24th position. HME starting all the way back down there alongside, or rather ahead of his teammate for entry, Adam Pinches. The 2 Hungarians, 25th and 26th, Liam Howard and Michi Hoyer on his return to Indy Pro, starts from 28th. The final drivers are there. The race is ready to begin. They're going to part their way around turn 3 and around turn 4. Adam Maguire and Stepkowski starting from the front row. We'll see if the Red Bull drivers will assert themselves in 3rd position, with Dennis Jordan leading Yuri Kasdorp. Surely Kasdorp has got to do the work to assist his teammate there in the number 27 on the inside. Let's get this show underway then. The Indy300, the finale point for the Formula Sim Racing IndyPRO Series, green. About to get underway. The green flag from race control are underway, and for Royal Blue, Adam Maguire instantly giving the slipstream to Stepkowski. A little bit of contact further down. I think that might have been Schmidt who just tapped the wall on the run in through turn 1. We're clean through 1. Are we going to be clean through 2 as well, as Stepkowski's dropped down from the front row of the grid all the way down to 4th position and potentially 5th, as Rory McDuff from Boston looks to get another position on him. Is he going to be able to pick this one up? No, they are not, but look at this, a Red Bull 1-2.
Oh, Dennis Jordan has had such a storming start, and Kasdorp already showing the advantages of having a teammate right up there. Berliak is going to miss that today. Jordan is going to be absolutely loving this already. He's going to give the slipstream to his teammate as well, but try not to overtake him at this stage. He's defending the lead through that one, and they take it already. Berliak tries to make up positions as well.
Did you see that in the background from Michi Hoyer and Cass Rietveld? They were so close to a crash on the start-finish straight. Petter Berliak making up plenty of positions. He's on the inside of Rory McDuff coming off of 2, but the outside line tends to have the momentum, particularly picking up the slipstream of Stepkowski. And look at the pack behind. We've gone green for one flag. Are we going to get another lap under green? I think we might well do so. Great start to the Indy 300 as Pignataro drops back into line. They were going 3 wide down towards turn 2. This is a great run from the 2015 world champion, but look at him lift out. He's giving the slipstream and a bit of a push from the air to Rory McDuff.
Well, he's got to here because the front 4 are breaking away already right now. If they battle too hard here, this is always the danger. It is in road racing, it's even more so in oval racing. If you battle too hard, you're going to lose the slipstream of the groups in front, and then there's going to be cars absolutely everywhere. You need to keep this race together, particularly if you're Petter Berliak, because at the moment, Dennis Jordan is getting away. The front 4 working together beautifully, and fortunately Berliak and McDuff are working together quite well as well, but these guys aren't. So if Berliak's not going to get any help, they're going to be losing pace, and the front 4 are going to continue to get away unless these guys get a little bit more organised further back.
Yeah, not the greatest start, by the way, for Net Rex, Noah Roivers and Jan Vosnitsa, 15th and 17th, either side of team manager Carlos Martin looking to the inside. Schmidt was trying to get Yannick Bock, who's going side by side with Zoltz Schuch, who was a little bit up into the barrier on the exit of ones. Tight stuff as we focus back on Leon Duval, Janis Brakschuk and Jake Dinahan also going side by side with Yuka Lalu getting involved in the mix as well as we head back up towards the front. Dennis Jordan, Adam Maguire, Yuri Kasdorp and Stepkowski, your top 4 pulling away from the group, but look at Rory McDuff and Petter Berliak reeling in our top group.
Yeah, exactly. Adam Maguire just pulled out there to get through on Kasdorp, but he did slow the group down. Any kind of side-by-side, even if it's just for a moment, it's going to slow the group down. It's happening again here because Adam Maguire is going for the lead, and he's going to take it. Dennis Jordan knows the disadvantages of running side-by-side, but so he's let Maguire in, basically. They're going to fall into line again, but it might well be too late. I think they've let Berliak back into this.
The single most important thing, though, for Dennis Jordan and for Petter Berliak as well, is they are realistically, from a large-scale sense, out of the real meat of the danger zone. You can see Rory McDuff there just going a little bit high through 3. Might well just be trying to get into his own little stream of air rather than following Stepkowski's. Let's see what Dennis Jordan does here. They'll obviously be communicating with Yuri Kasdorp, being like, right, I'm lifting. Watch out for it checking up, and the rest of the group following suit. So as Jake Dinahan gets back to the inside of Janis Brakschuk. Our Nige competition dropping down a little position. I'm hearing a crash. I think it's Hallows. Hallows having an issue.
Caution.
And the caution, the first caution of the day is called. There is Hallows.
Pits are closed.
Having a bit of a crash in T1. Pit is closed, of course, as we'll regroup and get ourselves sorted. Those that can enter the pit lane are those that are damaged. At the moment, though, it does seem as though the Valet eSports driver of Hallows is very, very much out of the race. There is no engine on that.
Yeah, there's not much of anything actually left, I'm afraid. Let's see how it happened. Well, this is the aftermath. Yeah, Alex Hallows, I'm afraid he got into. Oh my word!
Hello!
It's a bigger crash than we thought actually. This is going to be quite sickening on board from Hallows. I wonder if it is maybe a move on the white and gold car just up in front. Oh no, it's a move on him.
Oh no!
Looks like he maybe turned in there just a little bit, really, because there was a car down the inside, but. There's always that debate. Was the move too late, or did he turn in or not? It's a bit of a 50-50 one from the view we just saw. Yeah,
I think we'd need to see that one again. For me, I think, at least from that, I believe it was Davin Marocek who'd got to the inside. And as far as I'd be concerned, in my opinion, with over racing, the same with most people, that's how over racing works, is any overlap's an overlap. And so if Marocek has got to the inside, he's there. We'll have to wait and see. We're back on board with Alex Hallows.
It's Cam Roger.
It is Cam Roger, who was there.
Yeah, for me, he was definitely there, and it looks like Hallows has just turned in a little bit. Fine margins at this kind of speed. We're going over 220 miles an hour at this stage, and Cam Rogers just tried to go down the inside. He's made his intentions clear very early there as well. He's turned in.
Yeah, that's not on cam. My goodness.
Yeah, Hallows turned in a little bit. Roger got into the side of him, And there we go. Caution was out at this point. Not sure if the HM Engineering car got through there without breaking any rules, but yeah, Roger, don't think he was really at fault for that one, and he should be absolutely fine. Should be away without damage as well, which is the most important thing at this stage.
And we're being honest, because if we have an opportunity to rip Cam to pieces on broadcast, trust me, we will. There is no doubt of that. Safety car, though, is obviously out. First pit stops.
Pits are open for all cars.
Are going to be underway. There we go. Thanks, Thomas. That was really nicely queued up. He
was just waiting for us to finish the replays, and
yeah. We are going to get a pit lane sequence. Surely we've all got to come in.
Well, I'm not sure. Definitely,
at least for fuel.
There's going to be split strategy here. There's no way everybody has the same idea, because somebody down the order is going to chance it. But I'd be tempted to keep the track position personally. It just depends how long you think this next green flag run is going to be, really. We're still early on in the race. There's still 32 cars remaining out there. A lot of ambition still for those further down, as those AM drivers all outside the top 20 with the exception of Mocek. So some of them will be definitely staying out. I would stay out as well if I was at the front of the field. Take the track position at this point. Is it going to run green until the next pit stops? I'm not entirely sure. Braxtock seems to have had this idea on his own. Towards the back, obviously, they're going to do the exact opposite of the leaders. So here they come a little bit more.
Yeah, anyone towards the back. There's less in the pit lane than I would expect. But yeah, you might as well, especially if you're in like the last couple of spots, likes of Howard, Van Den Eet, Wack. They're all going to come into the pit lane. Of course they are. They've got nothing to lose from it. Yes, sure, they could gain a little bit of track position and be thrown into the middle of the danger zone, but to be perfectly honest, I want some fuel, because that will help later on in the race. It means that I have to fuel save a little bit less, etc. I can go on the attack a little bit more. It's not even about the tyres, although they will have worn just a little bit. 7 laps is actually really kind of an awkward time. It's not quite long enough to be like, yes, I definitely need tyres and we'll take this advantage, but it's also, it's not having a caution on lap 1 where it's a slam dunk. No, of course I'm not going to pit. Why would I? It's that awkward middle ground. I will say they did do quite well on that start. Now we get to do it single file.
We'll see if it's any cleaner this time around. But it was very good last time. Good racing between everybody, and there was already that kind of strategy element to it developing with regards to when do you overtake, when do you go side by side. The groups are starting to form with some of those getting away out front, and then those battling down the order.
Entry line. If you want to fake a pit stop, please do not cross the line.
Shot at Yuri Kasdorp.
Well, yeah, there were a few. It went for the fake, which is all well and good, but you can't cross the line. That's the only thing. But yeah, it was a good start, a good racing. But hopefully we get to do it for a little bit longer this time.
Yeah, that one was...
Safety car will come in at the end of this lap. We will go green at the end of this lap.
Very much a clear call specifically towards the likes of Yuri Kasdorp, who was doing a little bit of a fake out's fine. Doing it quite like that was maybe a little bit too much, mostly because you're swiping back onto the...
Drivers, good up.
The racing line. All getting told to grid up, all getting told to get into line. Normal balance is resumed, by the way, in the sense that Cameron Roger is in 32nd and last of the runners on the grid. Got to throw him under the bus at least a little bit. Did plenty of leading last year at Indianapolis when he was the safety car. This year, not quite so much. Looking backwards from Maguire towards Dennis Jordan, towards Yuri Kasdorp. Kasdorp was almost tempting going down pit lane, but decided not to, and he'll stay out in assistance
green.
of his teammate. Green flags back out here at Indianapolis. Maguire, Jordan, there's already a little bit of an incident in the background. Who was that? I think it was Danny Van Den Eet, who was pushed up towards the wall as they're already going 3 wide behind this. And of course, Noah Roivers, one of those drivers that needs to make a swift amount of progress. Oh, getting pinched though. Carlos Martin pinching Yannick Bock all the way down as far as he could. It's a little bit of a dicey start, and now Martin's up towards the wall.
Goodness me, how did he keep that out of the wall? I'll never know, but the 2 title challenging teammates as well got into contact through turn number 1. Roivers and Vosnica right in the middle of that mess, while their other rivals are right up here out of it all, although Berniak is coming under increasing pressure from those behind. The top 10 also have had a fantastic start in this run. A big squeeze on Jacob Reed as well, who's lost a load of momentum coming down the pit straight, and he's dropped a load of positions down to 12. Goodness me, it's been a bit of a messier start on this occasion. This time around, Braxtock and Muralato look like the two who were really disadvantaged by that. I think people were a little bit further down, just trying to jump the start a little bit, anticipate the start.
Yeah, it was a little bit crazy down towards the back end of the pack. They are 1 lap down, but remember the likes of McDuff and that lot that were 1 lap down for quite a significant portion of Apple Valley, and courtesy of safety cars at the right time, were able to be brought back onto the lead lap and still move their way up the order. It is back to being a Red Bull 1-2, but it is Yuri Kasdorp ahead of Dennis Jordan. He'll just pull his teammate along, coming down to pit lane. I think that's Carlos Martin with potentially too much over, or Jacob Reed. No, it's Jacob Reed down into pit lane. Apologies. Reed down onto the lane, so he'll go a lap down. That was the damage that you were calling off of T4, was up into the wall and then was going very, very slow, and Pigney managed to get through as well. Red Bull 1-2 at the front, Maguire, Stepkowski and McDuff, your top 5. Peter Berliak just behind, looking for that championship challenge. Noah Roivers and Jan Vosnitzer, as it was in the first stint of the race, either side of Carlos Martin in 15th and 17th place. So not the greatest start for them, despite going side by side with just about the entirety of the midfield.
Yeah, well, yeah, they were right in the middle of it, and that's exactly what we were saying in qualifying. You need to be out of that and trying to avoid that, but they really couldn't. Although at the front of the field, it's not much less chaotic, really. There's still a lot of battling going on up here, as you see with Peter Berliak right in the middle of this top 11, which has now started to get away from the rest. You can see Jacob Reed re-entering the circuit right now as well, 1 lap down. They're all going to be fighting to try and get that lap back, of course. Not entirely sure how they're going to do that. It's obviously going to be a long day for them here on in, but they're going to stay in the race and keep trying.
As it was last round, though, when we get under cautions, race control do try to give them the laps back. Even if they're 1 lap, a couple of laps back, they try to get everyone back onto the lead lap. As long as it doesn't take up too much time, race control will try and give them that position back, should they just stay in the race. And so for now, for the likes of Brackshock, Reed and Moralato, they just need to stay in the race. Let's look at Ferenczi back to the inside and getting pinched a fair amount himself from Schmidt, who was giving very, very little room indeed all the way down to the white line and the curbing. Once again, it's tight off of 2, and it should head the way of HME, but the slipstream that Schmidt is getting from Michi Hoyer is just enough to allow him to stay ahead. Cass Rietveld also through. Ferenczi now trying to back out of it as Morville also coming through. There's Yannick Bott going side by side with Ferenczi's teammate Zolt Schuch, who's just on the cusp of the top 12.
Yes, he's done a pretty good job here, but yeah, we've got some of these guys on newer tyres now starting to make a name for themselves, but not too much of a difference in terms of tyre compounds, really. As we see free wide up towards the front a little bit more. Carlos Martin has really been in the walls today, and we're only 16 laps in. He's already on the outside line again, 18th position for him now, but thankfully he's not in the wall. I really thought he would be after the on the restart at turn 2. He was very, very close, but a very good save as that's a squeeze into the wall from Michi Hoyer. He was definitely alongside, but Princess didn't give him the room at all there.
Yeah, that was not the wisest moment for Amanda Pintos, especially considering what we saw last round. I think was it Jan, wasn't it? Sir? I think it was. He was pushed up into the barrier and then went for a bit of a I don't really know how to describe it. Was flung fairly significantly across the road. So you've got to be careful with banging on the rules, especially when the safer barrier pops out. It's not really safe in that location. By the way, the driver that's gained the most positions from the pit stops was Adam Pintes, who's up now to 18th position, gone +3 at least since the restart of the race, as we refocus on our leaders. The train was 6, it's now significantly longer. Kasdorp and Jordan still, though, comfortably leading as everyone towards that top group is focused on fuel saving and fuel mileage. Back to Michi Hoyer, Carlos Martin behind, who's dropped down from the assistance of his teammates as well, or rather sister teammates, however you want to describe it, the team that he runs. There we go, Noah Roivers and Jan Vosnitzer, so a fair way back from that. Yeah,
absolutely. It's all not playing into these guys' hands, though. As entertaining as the battling is, they're letting those leaders get away, and especially for those who pitted, not ideal, as we do have a crash a little bit further back. Maybe a caution, although everybody's seemingly getting back underway, sort of.
Caution.
And it is indeed a caution. A lot of bodywork straight across the road, and a fair few cars as well. I think Cam Rogers one of those involved, along with Mistral and Ferenczi.
Yeah, we need to... there he is, Cam, with no front wing. Well, it's gone slightly downhill for him this afternoon after winning AM. This is not quite the way he wanted to. Morville, Mistral, and I believe Ferenczi all involved in that. You can see we'll take a look at the incident and let's guide our way through. Once again, Cam Rogers to the inside of T1. Let's see how he does this one. Nicely down to the inside, a little bit wide there is Mistral, and then just coming down. Oh, it's already... Wow, I wasn't even looking in that direction.
Watch out.
And then Cam was too busy focused on that.
Or turn 2, sorry.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
Yeah, something went on in front there. Cam Roger tried to go to the outside to avoid it, which would have been the right thing to do, but there was a car alongside him. And obviously, when your instincts kick in and trying to avoid an incident like that, you don't really think about the car on the outside quickly enough. And unfortunately, went around for a spin. It looked quite spectacular, but not a lot of damage was done there. So we will be able to get repaired and get back into the race. It looked like it came from the front group. Outside wall for the HM Engineering car, and they both get connected into the barriers and then didn't spin back in front of the field. Thankfully, everybody avoided them, but a separate incident was created because of them.
Yeah, they'll probably need a little bit of a slap off of that one just because of how that was. Unfortunately, was just a little bit too close to Frenchie going into the barrier. Let's see what happened with Zolt Schuch. He'll make a move on Yannick Bock as well and find his way past nicely down to the inside at T1. And this was where, just behind all of this, the incident was going on. Gotta say, it was one of those things. It happens so quickly that you can't really pick your way past it. Sometimes it just happens too fast. This time though, I'm sure we'll see more cars come down to the pit lane as we are approaching the end of the first real stint.
Yeah, I think so, because we're a lot deeper into the race at this point. Whether those guys who came in under the last caution come in or not is another issue. And the fact that Roger, Morvu and Mistral have all been able to pit and stay on the lead lap, and Howard,
it's open for lead lap
where are they going to end up here? Surely they're not going to end up in the top 4 because they were repaired.
No.
They were damaged cars allowed to pit. So surely that's not going to be a thing. But
no, they'll be told
way,
to drop to the end of the line.
I'd hope so. But Kastrup's going to lead them all in here, and it's going to be busy.
Ooh, Dennis Jordan pulling the old trick that we've seen in Formula 1. Look at the gap between himself and his teammate Yuri Kastrup, but essentially backing up the entire field behind. I've seen that one a few times, and it is normally told off and frowned upon a little bit, and I don't think it'd be looked on too politely there. Remember, contact is on in the pit lane, so everyone does have to be a bit careful, but look at how much space they've got. Plenty of room to navigate the pit lane cleanly.
You'd think so. Kastrup has certainly got enough, and that advantage that he got has paid off very nicely for him there. So he's going to be out in front of his teammate Jordan. Then it's going to be Maguire, Stipkowski. Burliak has made up a position. He'll be into what will be 5th. Well, actually 6th, because Fabian Barley has rolled the dice here. The only person, I'm very surprised he's the only one, but he is the only one to have rolled the dice. Roger, Morvu, Mistral, and also Howard. Those AM drivers are going to be asked to drop to the back. The lap cars are going to be able to be let through, and everything's going to be back to normal. But Fabian Barley, I'm surprised to see that he's the only one, and he comes in now. So I don't know what that is all about, because there was a perfectly good opportunity for him to come in last time, but he's not taken it, and he's going to put himself right at the back because of that now.
Yeah, I don't quite know in that he'll be dragged in with, or dragging in Cameron, Roger as well. But again, Morville, Mistral, Howard, as you said, they will all be sent to the back of the field, and as well we'll get some of those cars that were a lap down. They will be given, potentially, as long as it works in the same way as Upper Valley, be given the wave around just to get back onto the lead lap at the rear end of the train.
Lap cars may overtake the safety car. Lap cars may overtake the safety car.
Thomas he must be listening to here at some point, because these are great cues. You've got to remember as well, for those not really jumping in for most of the season here in Indy Pro, and same as with last season, the damage model is quite forgiving. If you can get it back to the pit lane, it can be repaired. Yes. And return it back to how it was at the start of the race, essentially. So there is a bit of margin for that, if you've had an incident like what we've seen there, the likes of Frenzy, Moralato, who had quite a lot of damage on their car, they're able to return to pit lane, and they're essentially given the car. It's almost like a fast repair that's not very fast. The average speed repair. They can still take part in the race, though. The race is not done for them as long as they can keep moving. That's why Hallow's retired from the race, because his rear wheel was ripped off in that incident, and he could no longer get back into pit lane, and thus was out.
Yeah, he had 3/4 of the track to do, and that on 3 wheels is going to be very difficult to do anyway. So yeah, he decided to retire the car. But Braxton came in there. He's on his wave around at the minute, but I presume he'll be let around again after doing that pit stop. Don't quite know why he didn't do it with everybody else, but either way, he's gone for it now, and he'll be let around. Only Reed and Moralato really haven't pitted, at least at some point during this caution here. Braxton's going to be let around, and once he gets to the back of the field, maybe next lap around, we'll be allowed to go green flag racing here once again. I actually think the last single file restart that we had was a little bit more dangerous than the double file one, because people at the back try and anticipate the start when you're on single file, and it caused a big fan out across the road a little bit further down, and a bit of contact as well. A couple of them came into the pit lane. Braxton was one of them.
The following drivers, please drop to the back because you pitted when the pits were closed. Roger, Morville, Mistral, Ferenczi, Howard. Please go to the high line and let the others pass.
Yes.
There we go.
We thought we did predict that, or you predict that, I should say. So it might be another lap after this one to let them drop all the way to the back. But yeah, I do think it was a little bit more dangerous than it was at the double file restart. Not that we should do double file at this stage, I suppose, but it does leave cause for concern for everybody. I think that they've got to stay attentive, particularly at the back. At the front it's quite safe, but at the back it seems very stop-start and very dangerous.
What you're saying is then we need to do a 3-wide start, because if 1, not great, 2, fairly safe all things considered, 3, super safe. Is that the tactic here?
Well, no, well. I mean, I don't think it's a great idea, but it would have been entertaining.
It would be entertaining. I think we'd be here all week, to be perfectly honest. I'm not even going with a day. I think we'd be in for the longest race that's ever been recorded in sim racing.
Yeah, you might be right. It's not a great idea, but that is a good point. But then again, not many cars will be left, so surely it would get a bit easier. But and here we are, on board with the safety car. But yeah, I mean. Thankfully, it's single file, hopefully a little bit better than the last one, and we can get a bit of a green flag run strung together. Maybe green flag stops at the end of this one.
We will continue racing at the end of this lap. We will go green at the end of this lap.
A load of cars on the lead lap,
so
it's still going to be busy.
Maybe take a bit more space to the safety car, as there might have been some lag.
Certainly is. Now, remember, this goes to like the whole trying to preempt the race start and stuff.
Drivers,
of course, race control will call the green flag. Now, the thing is just because there is a green flag in the air does not mean, hey, I can just accelerate. If there is a car in front of you, you can't just drive through them because you heard the words green and flag. That's not how it works. And so they do need to apply a little bit more caution further back in the pack. We'll have to wait and see. Yuri Kasdorp's going to take them off of 4, the race winner at Apple Valley. Green flag back out in the air, and Dennis Jordan will just follow him at the moment. Wolves pulling out there of Liam Duval, already trying to get into his own little bit of slipstream and try and get his own bit of air, but he's going to drop the position to Rory McDuff, who dropped a little bit through that stint, who's got straight to the inside of David Marocek and has gained the position as well, dragging through Adam Pintesh as well, 2 by 2 as they run round turn 2. Yuri Kasdorp and the train behind, all single file. That was close to danger.
Yeah, well, Marocek is a man on a mission at the moment, weaving his way right through the field, right to the inside line. 3-1, it's going to go badly. Somehow they've all managed to get through. That was remarkable. Rory McDuff must have his heart in his mouth, and his heart rate will be right up at the moment. He was a big way sideways there into turn 3. Somehow he's still facing the right way, and we're all right.
Our broadcast director, Felix van Delft, had the words ripped straight out of my mouth that I definitely cannot repeat on air. But how did Rory McDuff save that one? I don't quite know. Clearly Marocek did not know they were 3 wide at that point, and it was all a little bit dicey. But either way, Yannick Bock now side by side with Pintesh. This has all been changed around a little bit. Look at that, looking to the inside. Jan Woznitzer trying to gain a little bit of track position as he's a fair way ahead of Noah Roivers. Up towards the barrier goes Jake Dinahan. It's a little bit dicey once again on the single file restart as they're all struggling for grip a little bit. We'll just say off of particularly 2 and 4 where the track dips away, the rear right does tend to give up a little bit in this car. They do have to be careful, especially later in the stint once the heat cycle starts getting into the tyres.
Yeah, hopefully we're going to see that kind of develop throughout the stint fairly shortly, but for now
crash.
It's just an all-out brawl as we do a big crash and fire in the background.
Caution,
at the moment at the back for Jacob Reed. That can't be good. That might well be the end of his race as well in this one. There's a big fire going on at the back of his car at the moment. Ferenczi was involved, Howard as well. Braxton is at the back of the field for the second time today, and Valley eSports could be 2 for 2 out DNF, I'm afraid.
Yeah, and Jacob Reed, his chances of grabbing 5th in the championship would appear to be quite over, as I'm not sure any mechanic could rescue that in a decent period of time. That was quite a crash to come back to. We're on board with Jacob Reed. You can see up towards the barrier. I believe it's Danny Van Der. Oh, yeah, just dropped it himself, the HME driver.
Well, I'm not entirely sure how, though.
I think he went into the back of the car ahead.
Yeah, he's trying to make a move of some description. Ferenczi it was, trying to make a move, and Jacob Reed couldn't avoid the spinning car without getting spun out himself, and that was a big hit for him. He will be out of this race. Braxock and Howard, I'm afraid, are both involved as well. See it from Ferenci's point of view. This has all started a little bit earlier. This opportunity doesn't arise unless that happens up in front, so this is a bit of a chain reaction. A strange moment there, because it seems like he made contact, but it looks like from his onboard that he made contact with someone, but
it's now
Reed's onboard that didn't happen.
It's now open for lead lap cars.
Not sure how this quite developed, really. Very weird.
Yeah, so obviously everyone's just caught up in that, unfortunately. I did have a bit of panic thinking it was Noah Roivers, by the way, the P1 SimNet Rex car. I will say there was a bit of air. We saw this a little bit at Apple Valley. I think the contact model of this car is just a little bit further off the rear end than where it needs to be, and it's caused a little bit of an issue there. But read into that where you will. There was certainly an issue ahead that sent Danny Van Der up towards the barrier. Not 100% sure myself on that one. For you drivers into the pit lane, obviously Carlos Martin, Schmidt, Ferenczi, Janis Brakshock, Mistral, Danny Van Der Neet, Howard, all into the pit lane. Is Jacob Reed still in the race? It does seem to say that he's...
Oh, no, he stopped at
Oh, no,
3.
he is. Yeah, no, I'm with you. Yeah, he stopped on the inside of 3. So let's take a look at what happened between David Marocek and Rory McDuff then. On board with Rory McDuff, and settle yourself in for this one, because this is going to be a pretty crazy catch. Let's see. I mean, either way, Marocek was coming down way too aggressively, even if there was 1 or 2 cars on the inside there. That was a little bit too much and could have been quite a crash. I'm pretty sure even Roy McDuff doesn't know how he's still in this race.
Yeah, it looked a little bit less dramatic on board, actually, than it did off board. There was a lot of sideways. He didn't seem to know a lot about it, really, but he held on, and he's in 8th place now. But yeah, I think it was Duval on his inside, with Brocek on the outside. I think Brocek's behaviour was fine if there was only 1 car on the inside. He just wasn't aware there was 2.
Liam Howard, you may unlap yourself.
That's not obviously that's nearly caused a very big accident there, but thankfully it hasn't. Roy McDuff is still in this race, and he's still, for me, a very big contender in this one. We've not seen him too much, but he's been quietly in the top 10 the entire time, and he's American, so he's a very big contender.
That's it. It's the flag. Stars and stripes equals great at turning left. Must well be. Did he win in the Virtual Endurance Championship? Obviously, he was taking part for Red Bull. Did they win? They did. He
did.
Okay,
he obviously transferred from Nitro Valence, who he's driving for today. I think it's a 1 round only thing.
Yes, I believe so.
Going with Yuri Kazdorp for the day. They absolutely smashed it. Actually, nearly won by a minute in the end. They were challenged for a little while by Vargas SimRacing, but easily the best.
Yeah. You can see, of course, Dennis Lind is watching on, who runs both the Red Bull Racing eSports campaigns, such as Nita Velix as well. So it's a busy man with drivers on the grid. Was originally going to be driving a part of the Cetra's Nita Velix car, as he's driven a few times this season, but unfortunately taking to one side in this one, and Roy McDuff taking over the reins of that car for this race, as he did last round at Apple Valley. At least Yuri Kazdorp's ticking off plenty of laps in the lead of the race, assisting his teammate. And all things at the moment, if everything was to finish, it is a nice and simple one for us in the championship. It would be Dennis Jordan crowned as champion of the 2nd season of IndyPro, but he has to be keeping his eye on 5th place. Berliak is not that far behind, and if he gets ahead, well, Berliak will win.
Yeah. In any form, if Berliak, unless they're both outside the top 20, which I can't see happening. If Berliak beats Jordan today, then he will win, possibly on countback if it does indeed get that close. So we do certainly have to watch out. Somebody's crashed under caution here. Moralato is stopped at turn 2.
I was expecting Cam Roger.
No, I'll refrain from saying crashed. Actually, he stopped at least. But we don't quite know why for the moment. But this may extend the caution by a lap or two while we deal with this deal with this call. Jacob Reed official retirement, by the way.
Yeah, not 100% sure. Could just be a technical fault as we'll ride on board with Moralato.
Oh dear. His brakes are... Something's strange happening to his tyres there. And then they lock up for good.
That's not right,
No.
shall we say.
No.
Either way, potentially another retirement to throw into the books, because if that is a technical fault, there's not really much you can do about it, unfortunately.
No, not really. If he can get back going, then and he's a lap down, say, or something like that, then it's not a disaster. But that doesn't look like it's going to move at all. It starts doing it a little bit on the front straight, and then through the end. Yeah, something strange is happening to the tyres there. They keep locking up.
Yes, I mean, if it is the brake pedal, right, it could also. Yeah, this is the other thing, is it could just be a replay thing, because I've seen this before. Might not just be the wheels messing around. Not 100% sure. If anything has gone wrong on the equipment, of course, you can attempt the old classic of unplugging and plugging it back in again. That's a 50-50 scenario, and even if you did get it working, then the force feedback wouldn't be on.
We will
you
go
can see
green
there,
at the end
Moralato
of the slap. We will go green
is
at the end of
out.
the slap. Safety car will come in at the end of the slap.
Yeah,
We'll
so,
keep our fingers crossed, shall we, that this one's green for a while.
yeah, we certainly will. I mean, a green flag pit stop's not going to be too far away, really, now, since this caution's gone on for a little bit longer than everyone was expecting. I think maybe if they'd have known it was going to get extended by a lap or two because of Moralato, then they might have decided, or a few more at least might have decided. But the top 23 have decided not to, and the bottom 7 have. I'm really looking forward to seeing how Carlos Martin tackles this first few laps here, because he's been running decently in the midfield, but he's got new tyres now. And yeah, could be a factor.
Well, we're being told to get sorted, told to get back into nice, clean, single file action, and to get ready for some more racing. Hopefully this one will last a little bit longer, and we might well head our way towards those green flag pit stops. Of course, your top 5 at the moment: Kasdorp, Jordan, Maguire, Stepkowski and Belyak, all up there indeed for the championship fight. The other 2 in the championship fight,
Green.
and Noah Roivers. Green flag back out in the air. Yuri Kasdorp gets to lead once again. Oof, God, I thought there was going to be a little bit of contact there between Yannick Bock and Pignataro, as Pignataro's got to the outside of Rory McDuff heading into T1, as has picked up the spot. A terrible start from the Americans. Got back 1, 2, 3 spots as Pintesh, Cass Rietveld's also got through. Jan Vosnitz has made a great start. Is almost challenging for a top 10 at the moment.
Oh, I'll tell you who's had a disaster as well. Demian Skrovron was knocking on the door of a top 10 a minute ago, but he didn't go anywhere. That's why there was nearly a crash in the middle of the field, because the cars behind were so surprised, just had to duck out very quickly, down to 17th now. But Rory McDuff as well, not had a good start there at all, down below Vostok, who's starting to feel his way into this race a little bit. He's had a quiet first few, and now into the pit lane for Skrovron as well. Something has gone shockingly wrong for him, and it's caused a split in the field completely here. It's been split in half. The top 16 racing away, while these guys forced to fight for the scraps a little bit lower down.
Yeah, look at this, all dicing around just a little bit. Got to be careful. Running up towards the high line is Cam Roger, and trying to find his way. They're losing so much time in this train, though, to that group ahead. You can see from Jukka Pekalalu up to Zolk Schuch the massive 4-second gap up towards that lead group, and nearly pushing Tomasz Vach out towards the wall. It's all a bit dicey in this pack, and I'm pretty sure it's dicey and KG in the pack ahead, although you can see them there nice and single file. Up into the wall, though, was Frenzy.
Yeah, Frenzy's really been in the wars today as well, and there's a big squeeze going on between himself and Morville. I'm not sure they're big fans of each other at the minute, since the way they're attacking each other right now. This group is certainly more feisty than the one up front right now, and that's exactly why we're seeing the margins that we are. The first group nice and organised. This one completely all over the place, and Noah Roivers is stuck in this one. He can't get anywhere, and he can feel the championship slipping away.
But it is very, very early days. Very, very early days, even in this race. We're 37 laps that we're on right now, and there's still plenty to go. So there's plenty of time to get yourself back involved. I'm sure the stress there will be being felt within the entirety of the NetRex camp. But still, you've just got to keep positive as Cam Roger heads to the front of that little grouping. Carlos Martin dropping a little bit further back as Schmitz to the inside as well indeed, and is going to grab that spot. Keep your eye on Jukka Pekalalu.
Oh,
big moment, and Carlos Martin, wow, cut away from that at the wrong point. Terrible broadcast direction from Felix Van Delft. Sorry, I'm taking the mick of him. Carlos Martin, though, sent off. No front wing. That'll be a return to pit lane.
Yeah, no caution because there's no real need for. Well, there might be now.
Carlos, buddy.
Is struggling here.
Oh no.
His suspension heavily damaged. If he can get that back without he might be able to get that back before the leaders get to him. So, or at least might stay out of the way of them. So there may not be a need for a caution here. He's going to be disappointed, of course, but he will be allowed to get at least one of his laps back at each caution if indeed he stays in the race, which he probably will do.
Yeah, I would. Especially based on Apple Valley, I certainly would. No, at Apple Valley, even towards the end of the race, they did allow the drivers to gain, even if they were 2 or 3 laps down, they did allow them to gain them all back under the caution sequence. So we'll have to wait and see. Let's take a look at that on replay and see what happened to Carlos Martin. I'm pretty sure it was just contact on the rear end, even though there might have been a little bit of air between. Had already been sent up the road just a little bit, trying to catch the rear end of the car through 1. It just dropped him further and further back, and then through 2 was obviously losing momentum. Had Schmidt get through on the inside, was up into the barrier, was squeezed up a little bit into the barrier by Schmidt, maybe.
Definitely squeezed by Schmidt there, I'm afraid. There was not much, and I've seen that quite a few times, really. I'm not entirely sure why there's so much squeezing going on to those on the outside line. And I understand you want to get the slipstream of the cars in front because Schmidt doesn't want to be left to hang out to dry there. But there's not actually any contact there at all, is there? But he's been swiped across from by Schmidt. I'm not entirely sure if that's Schmidt's fault for misjudging that, because there wasn't really any of his car alongside even still. But Carlos Martin, you can see the amount of suspension damage he was struggling with by the end of it, and thankfully got it back to pit lane. He's back out there. He is back out there again now. But it's not a nice place to be, and he's 2 laps down.
Yeah, very tight indeed. Let's see then Berliak trying to make a move on Stepkovsky, but again the outside line working. Marocek potentially might assist the likes of Yuri Kasdorp and Dennis Jordan by getting past Berliak here, but he is going to sit at the moment in 6th position. Obviously Liam Duval, Pignataro, Pinces, Rietveld, and then Jan Vosnitzer. The terrible start for Rory McDuff dropped him down into 12th position, but still well within this race. 40 laps completed, 1/3 of the race down, and plenty of time still to go. There's a bit of lap traffic in the form of Zoltz Schuch, who is going that 1 lap down, just trying to keep out of the way. And this is not an easy track to be a back marker. Look at how tight it is off of T3 and T4 there, and Zoltz Schuch is just trying to stay out of the way.
Oh yeah, this is the problem here. Berliak has managed to get Zooks within this train now, and this is not good news at all, because there's a lap car in the way. Obviously we're getting to that stage now. We haven't had too long of a green flag run, but Zooks was in the pit lane for whatever reason. Don't know if he picked up damage again, but he was definitely in the pit lane, and now he is in with the leaders. There's not really blue flags in the same way there is in F1 either. It'd be frowned upon for him to really get involved and change the face of this race. But getting into the train like this is not really going to be frowned upon. It's just frustrating for Berliak.
Yeah, that would be pretty annoying. Normally you'd tell the back markers, look, just to be kind and hop out of the way, but like you say, when it comes to the letter of the laws, Zoltz Schuch doesn't really have anything to really play with in that point. He's not in the wrong right now, so we'll have to wait and see what is done about that, whether he steps outside. Of all the cars to pull up in front of as well, it just had to be one of our championship rivals. Cas Rietveld dropping down a little bit of pace as he was allowing Vosnitzer through, might have dropped the position as well to Rory McDuff, who's trying to get past Vosnitzer around the outside of 3, going up the road just a little bit, and Cas Rietveld's got back to the inside, a little bit of contact as well. Yannick Bock's not able to get through and slot his way past the American, and it is the 2 Netrex cars ahead of the Setresny Developed.
Yeah, absolutely. Vosnicker's getting himself into this race very quietly here. He's creeping up inside the top 10. Might be about to get into 9th, and Pinchas has done a good job as well, to be fair to him, as Rietveld gets into the outside wall straight in front of McDuff, who tried to take advantage but just couldn't. But Vosnicker's creeping his way back into this race. Maybe it is still alive for him here. There's still over half the race to go, as you mentioned a little bit earlier. We've got a long way to go. It's not over for either of the Netrex cars, despite the fact they've been running outside of the top 10 for almost all of the day.
Speaking of Netrex drivers, by the way, a bit of a shame not to see Adam Rainey out on the grid as well for Netrex. Unfortunately, a wheel failure for him at the moment. Hopefully he can have that one sorted out. Back to Pignataro, Yuri Kasdorp into the pit lane. at the end of lap 45. So he's been sat at the front of the grid, has been assisting his teammate Dennis Jordan in saving fuel, and now it's his time to jump into the pit lane. And I wonder if maybe later in the race he'll be called upon again. It'd be very much akin to 2015, if I remember correctly, at the Indy 500 when Townsend Bell did the same thing to Alexander Rossi and sat in front of him whilst a lap down, by the way, to make sure that Rossi could save enough fuel to be victorious that day. Maguire straight into the pit lane as well, and another one down in a little bit early in the rest of the group. Jordan, Stepkowski and Belyak all staying out on the track.
Vosnica in as well, but it's, this lack of teammate has left Jordan completely exposed, and Stepkowski gone straight to the front. Zolczuk's getting involved as well. A lap car side by side with a championship leader, and now here comes Belyak. He's going straight to the front and straight into the championship lead, 3 wide. He splits the difference, but he's stuck there, and all of a sudden he's down to 4th all over again.
Yeah, so this is where, you know, Zolczuk does need to just be like, right, okay, this is the championship fight I'm in the middle of, not just the battle for 5th position in the race. You kind of need to hop out of the way there a little bit, bud, but unfortunately still not going to do so. As I was saying before, Dennis Jordan is going to receive a little bit of assistance as there's Zolczuk straight to the inside of Darren Marocek. I am not liking this from the HME driver right now, and he's going to be frustrating the rest of the group. He's not technically doing anything wrong, but he is impeding that group of leaders, this time allowing Petr Belyak into the slipstream, trying to slot the gap as well as Zolczuk gets ahead of Darren Marocek, who's going to have to lift out just a little bit here on the run into T1, and Marocek pinching way too much. That could have been disastrous for Petr Belyak, who just lifted out a little bit. Liam DeVal back into the slipstream. Are they going to come into the pit lane this time by? Yes, 1, 2, 3, 4 down into the lane. Rory McDuff should be in behind as well as Jake Danahan, and then the rest of the field will all continue out in their laps. That was incredibly stressful.
It was very, very intense indeed. You can only imagine what Petr Belyak and Dennis Jordan were feeling. Yuri Kastorp has managed to join up with Alan Maguire here. Where are they with regards to Stepkowski? They're in front of him, and they've actually got a bit of a margin. Is the same thing going to happen to Dennis Jordan? I feel these two are going to get away, and Dennis Jordan is going to be separated from his teammate for the first time today. And we've seen that already he was under massive pressure there from Petr Belyak. As soon as Kastorp was no longer by his side, he was immediately exposed there.
Now let's see what happens here. So Maguire is going to be leading this group just ahead of Yuri Kastorp. Where is Dennis Jordan? He's on that road. He's the lead car there and is going to come out a fair way behind. You can see him just taking the inside line now on the exit of pit road. He'll come out a fair way behind this grouping, but will be ahead. Picks up the final moments of the slipstream from Yuri Kastorp, but it might well just be too big of a gap for Dennis Jordan to close back in. The top 6 yet to stop as well. Fabian Barler's down onto pit lane. Schmidt, Ferenczi, Danny Van Der Neet, Mistral, Janis Brakshock and Liam Howard all still out there on the racetrack.
Yeah, I mean, Dennis Jordan's a little bit far down, but he's not as far down as Petr Belyak here. The battles with Zolczuk there has really disadvantaged him, and he's put him in the burst eSports zone as well with Marocek down his inside. It says Roger on the side, but it is.
That was naughty pinching as well.
No, it was Marocek. That was quite dangerous into turn 1, but they've all got away with it in the end, and this is certainly going to allow the front few to get away here. Cars all over the place, by the way, because the front 5 pitted under the last caution. They have not been caught yet because they haven't had to pit yet. They will still be out there for another 5 laps or so.
I'm pretty sure Marocek might be thinking, okay, 1-1. I pinched you a little bit too much into 3. You pinched me a little bit too much into 1. Now let's not do that again, because otherwise we'll both be out of this race. They'll continue to lap their way around 50 completed here at Indianapolis. By the way, you know, you've got to think when it comes to this strategy, is Yuri Kastorp going to try and slow Adam Maguire down just a little bit? You can kind of see he is. All of these drivers, or not all of them, but quite a lot of them will have engineers in their ear. You need it around Indianapolis. You need someone speaking in your ear, telling you what everyone else is doing. It's so critical. I know it's obviously the job that Cameron Rodder does for Burst a few times. He does it in the Le Mans Virtual Series for the 444 car that Mitchie Hoyer drives in that. You've got plenty on the wall today. Said Adam Rainey not taking part in the race due to the wheel failure. He's on the wall for Liam Howard, who's sat in 5th position at the moment. You need it right now. You need someone on the wall telling you what's going on. Not so much as a spotter. Can't really have everyone on the server like that. Oh, as that Pinsesh up into the wall, and might well have dropped it, but kept it on the road. Well,
yeah, he's going to be into the clutches of these guys a little bit further behind, as Dennis Jordan has joined up with his teammate. Now, where has Maguire gone? He's all the way down. He's been in the pit lane for whatever reason. Don't quite know why. Pinsesh might well have a bit of damage here as well. We completely missed that. McGuire, who's been running up inside the top 3 all day long in the pit lane, we're hearing for speeding.
Yeah, that actually does make sense. It is quite hard to get down to the pit lane into green flag. Wonder if anyone else came a cropper of that one, but Maguire either way a lap down. Will be cycled back out onto the lead lap once Schmidt, Van der Neet, Mistral, Brackshock and Howard come into the pit lane as they do now, but is well off the lead group and has a very long day ahead. Back to our championship rivals, Vosnitsa battling out and Michi Hoyer allowing Rocek to get through.
Yeah, absolutely, and Stepkowski getting in front of Stepkowski, I should say, getting in front of Vosnica there. So, or the other way around, I should say. But yeah, this is the front group now. They've got a lap car in between. Is that a lap car?
I think it might be Carlos Martin, maybe.
Yeah, it's a good shout. Yellow car laps down. So I'd be willing to go along with that. And he's trying to get involved here as well, up the inside of Dennis Jordan. That is, I wouldn't be surprised here if Yuri Kazduk lets his teammate in front here just to give him that added bit of protection. There's a bit of bodywork on the back straight there. I think it might be Pinches's.
Yeah, obviously was quite heavily up to the barrier, and there we go, coming down into pit lane. Janis Brackshock, his teammate, Van Pinzes, already into pit lane as well from the lead group, as well as Liam Howard. Must just say about this, by the way, that Carlos Martin, who is this driver who's sat just ahead and of course assisting Jan Vosnitsa, what a job he has just done to assist Jan Vosnitsa, who was as near as making a difference, qualifying, did not qualify very well, was very far down and was almost out of it. Start of the race, didn't do so great, took him a while to get the wheels going. Jan Vosnitsa, I mean, now is starting to challenge a little bit. He's on the rear end of his championship rival, but do remember, needs realistically Dennis Jordan, if he wins this race, needs Dennis Jordan to finish 9th place or lower. So has a bit of work to do, but this could be very, very good indeed for Netrex.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, Carlos Martin doing a good job, he might be, but I'm not sure how comfortable I am with that cars trying to overtake leaders at this time. I'm happy for them to sit in groups, like we saw briefly with Zooks, but once he started trying to overtake some of the leaders, I'm not sure I'm comfortable with it anymore. But either way, they're doing it, and so there we are. Here we are with Adam Maguire. What's happened to him?
We'll see this
This is the speeding violation we're hearing. I did think I saw this earlier, but I only want to point out that way too quick. It's a difficult thing to do, slowing down from 220 miles an hour into this very narrow pit lane, but almost everybody else managed it, unfortunately, so he is a long way down now.
Zolt shoots up into the barrier, and as much as Ricardo Costa got away with it a few times a week ago, and we don't actually know how, he was definitely speeding in pit lane on more than one occasion. That time, yeah, that was quite significantly over the line, as you can see just ahead. Rocek to the inside of Belyak up into 5th position. Big groups starting to form. The top 4 are very, very clear of the chasing pack, which has happened very, very quickly indeed. Rocek and Belyak have battled it out a couple of times. Rocek dropped back, now back up with Belyak. Michi Hoyer. I was going to say Michi Hoyer was behind, not for long, as Hoyer dived straight back up the inside. Now makes a little bit of contact, escorting Belyak up to the barrier.
Yeah, but Hoyer's done a good job in this race. To be fair, didn't qualify very well, but Belyak is, and he's not going to get slipstream here because Rocek is going to give the slipstream to his teammate, of course, and that might well just push Hoyer, and Pignataro not helping the Croatian very much here either. So Belyak just decides to fall in, and he definitely needs to fall in with these guys and start to get organised here, really, because Dennis Jordan is in that group of 4 just up in front, and they're not going to catch him, 5 I guess with Martin. You're not going to catch them doing stuff like this, going side by side. I know they're exchanging positions between teammates here, but it's still unhelpful.
Dennis Jordan needed a caution a week ago, and I'm pretty sure Belyak needs the caution now. Also, Noah Roivers, he needs to really start making up a little bit of track position, because he's sat there in 15th position behind Roy McDuff, who's dropped back yet another one behind Yannick Bock, Cass Rietveld, and our boy Cam Roger, who's up in 11th position, challenging for a top 10. Go on, son. No bias. Hashtag, whatever, you throw it in there.
Sancho bias.
Huh?
Sancho bias.
He's starting to fight. There's no Sanchez on the grid, don't worry. Unless you want to classify Karen Roger as an honorary Zancho member for today. I'm sure he'd love that.
Yeah, I'm sure he would, yeah. But no, top 10 now as well, as we're speaking about him. Zooks is falling back. Well, to be fair to Zooks, he's on old tyres, isn't he?
And has been in the barrier a little bit.
He has a little bit, yeah. So that's to be expected. But Roger inside the top 10, the only the second Indy Am driver to pretty much do it pretty much all day, really. Mocek's been there the whole time, but other than that, it's been pretty slim pickings for those who qualified into this race.
Oh, my call seems to have worked to Noah Roivers as he's started to make some progress, now getting past Yannick Bock and up into 12th position. Obviously going to receive a little bit of assistance here from Cas Rietveld, and it is advantage in numbers for the NetRex group as another position gain for Roivers. Obviously not going to be fought as he'll try and grab 11th position. Oh, and up into the barrier. That was pretty hard hit.
It was. There might well be... well, it's hard to tell if there is any suspension damage in these cars because they don't drive straight anyway. But yeah, we might find out at the next pit stop. It's a little bit longer. It's certainly lost in momentum, and he's into the clutches of those three who he's just overtaken.
A costly mistake for a driver who did so well in 2021, of course, winning the Pro Championship in Formula Sim Racing, the step below the World Championship in fantastic fashion, of course, just ahead of Jan Vosnitzer in that title race. That is pretty bad. Yes, he lost a lot of momentum, now returns into 14th position and have to get his way past in and past Bock once again. But the damage might well, to be perfectly honest, slow him down ever so slightly. Rory McDuff to the inside just ever so slightly through 4, but no slipstream assistance to the American, and Yannick Bock might get his way past.
Might well
it was
do.
Schmidt rather, not Bock. Never mind.
Yeah, they're both up here at the moment, blue cars. Not helpful, but yeah, Rory McDuff has really fallen down early on. It just shows the importance of these restarts because he's been inside the top 10 all day, and then he had a poor restart, and he's not been able to lift himself out of the mess that he found himself in since then, and it's struggling to do so. But if he finds a winning companion in Noah Roivers, they could go far if they kind of work together to climb their way up the order. They could certainly get up towards the top 5 in this race. A bit of caution might be needed for them to get a real good result out of this, but yeah, a couple of fast drivers out of position here might be able to help each other to better places, but not able to now. Rory McDuff overtaken again.
We'll just say, by the way, one thing when it comes to that battle for 5th in the championship, because this is where it gets a little bit like, oh right, hang on. Liam Duval, who is currently sat in 9th place, as far as my numbers would be, I think he might well move up, or actually depends on how far Yuri Kasdorp is off, obviously, after that race victory. I think he's a little bit too far off to try. Yeah, he is way too far off, never mind. Ignore me. Liam Duval, though, will probably move up to the 5th position in the championship because all of his rivals, obviously Alan Terzic, not here, Jacob Reed out of the race, Skovron down in 28th spot, Carlos Martin down in 29th spot. All these people that are trying to battle for 5th in the championship, all way down the order. Liam Duval's the lone one up inside the top 10. I mean, 5th place is not bad in a title like this.
No, absolutely not, and it might be slightly disappointing to him given the way he started this season. 2nd, 5th and 4th the first 3 races, and then the main race at Elkhart Lake really where it started to fall apart, and he's not really recovered since. But if he was to end this one on a high, then it would certainly be a good performance, especially for an oval race here for Liam Duval. But this does tend to happen to him really in these championships. If you remember the World Championship this season, he was 2nd at Imola. My imagination was beginning to wonder what could it be in 2021 for Liam Duval. Eventually, it was a one-hit wonder for him, I'm afraid, and he returned to outside. He'd never scored a point, I don't think, before that race. All of a sudden, he popped up in 2nd, and then he fell away back outside the top 10 again. So he's shown potential. He just has really poor consistency in these recently, but if he starts to build those results week after week, week in, week out, then he can really go places.
Yeah, in IndyPRO last season, did finish 2nd here to end the season. Only did the first round and this round, so clearly likes the Brickyard because we started the season at Indianapolis as we did this season as well. So, does know how to get it done on the oval, and I'd say for Liam Duval potentially might well look for another podium a bit later on in the day. The only podiums he ever had have been from finishing 2nd. It's that one that you were saying about in the World Championship. It was, of course, here in Indianapolis on 2 occasions, one at the start of this season and one at the end of last. So likes finishing 2nd, not so much winning races. Of course, Yuri Kasdorp into pit lane once again earlier than the chasing group. And so we'll expect that Dennis Jordan might well sit out on the racetrack for a few more laps. But it's the more pit stops you do in a race list, the more green flag pit stops, the more the race kind of separates. And that can be a good thing and a bad thing. And for Dennis Jordan, we're not quite sure which way it's going to go. He is once again going to be left by himself in this group.
Yeah, and last time that happened, I really did think he was under big pressure and struggling to deal with it, really. But once Kazdorp... However, this time around, Jordan has been left exposed to Voznica and Stepkowski the whole time. He's had to defend for himself, really. I know Kazdorp has been leading him around, but he's not been defending for him as he was last time. Now Voznica doing the clever thing, striking while he's exposed the most. Jordan doing the smart thing as well, though, by just slotting into line.
I was going to say, is that a clever thing? I'd almost want Dennis Jordan to sit there and I will take his fuel, thank you very much. I would almost want Jordan to continue leading this group. I wouldn't fight him. I would just sit there, just because you're then saving that bit extra fuel, trying to get that extra lap, etc., and you're making Dennis Jordan do the work. And especially when you need Dennis Jordan to have an average to bad result here at Indianapolis, already straight down onto the pit lane, Jan Vosnica, who was 2 laps shy on the previous stint. Does that mean that Dennis Jordan's got another 4 laps in the tank as he returns to the lead here at the Brickyard? A track that he has won at before, but obviously mark it. We've got 50 laps to go. These drivers are doing roughly 20 lap stints. Ooh, one stop's not going to be enough. We're going to have a splash here, Ewan. Unless we get a caution.
Yes, unless we get a caution. Has anybody saved a miraculous amount of fuel here somewhere out there on the circuit? Who is going towards the mid-20s in terms of... Is anybody doing the mid-20s in terms of stints here? Because we've got 51 laps to go as we clear the line this time around. How far can these guys go? Stepkowski's been saving the fuel of 3 cars in front of him for this entire 22 laps at the moment, and he's going far. Can he stretch this enough? Maybe 1 or 2 more. If he can do 2 more and do 2 more 24 laps after this one, then he might be able to do this on just 1 more stop. But he needs the slipstream of others, and judging by that, that doesn't look like a man fuel saving particularly hard.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Dennis Jordan's last stint, I mean, if you really want to know how far it is, even though it's completely irrelevant, was 28 laps. The reason why it's completely irrelevant, cautions made that a little bit longer and made it a bit easier to save. Stepkowski down into pit lane. Dennis Jordan continues out on the racetrack and makes it a 22nd lap, circulating at the front of the field. If he can go a couple laps longer, this is looking good for Dennis Jordan. But as much as he is a bit of a fuel maestro, remember that even if he were to make the stick, even if he were doing slower lap times and trying to make it stick, when he comes through the pit and comes out next time, he's definitely not likely, as that was a little bit a bit of a disaster on the exit of pit lane from, I think, Danny Van Der Neat. But yeah, Jordan is going to be by himself driving around, and then you're burning more fuel, or you're going to be around some slower people. You're not going to be near Yuri Kazdorp, and so things are becoming a little bit dicey, a little bit concerning. Dennis Jordan is continuing to do the mileage, though.
Well, yeah, and my question is, what about Yuri Kazdorp? What is Yuri Kazdorp going to do? Because Dennis Jordan, if you remember at the end of last stint, he came out a couple of seconds behind Kazdorp and Voznica, who got a bit of a jump on him, but I don't think he did it too much on purpose, but Kazdorp kind of organically slowed down just a little bit and made sure Voznica stayed with him, so that they kind of formed a bit of a train, made sure Jordan was at least behind somebody, in this case himself, or in the last case himself, and then was able to fuel save for almost all of the stint that he has done now. If he can go to 73 here, then this really could be on right now for Jordan. But Berliak is in, he won't be able to make it. Jordan, that's Kazdorp going through again. Jordan can't quite make it, so at the moment I'd call him 2 laps short.
Although there is one thing that we are forgetting about in this group, by the way, which is, yes, Dennis Jordan, great. Pignataro, Duval all coming in on this lap, great. Schmidt and Brackshaw coming in a few laps, yes. But do remember that they have pitted at a different time, so they're going to be going another 3. If they can try and get their stints to 23 laps, something in that vein, they could genuinely do this on 1 more stop. If we go green to the end, one of that group is an absolute threat to sneak a race victory here.
Yeah, this race is completely blown wide open, but would probably go to one of the top 5 looking at the way it goes right now. Would probably go to one of the top 5 if they were to be able to do that. But where has Dennis Jordan got to? You see, he's 4 seconds behind his teammate now, right in with Danny Van Der Neat and Stepkowski. What is Kazdorp going to do?
But is far enough ahead of the likes of Berliak, who he really does need to beat in this race. Voznica, yes, being ahead isn't great, but isn't a massive disaster, because Yuri Kasdorp's there. Woznitzer has to win, and again, Dennis Jordan, if he finishes in this position, then it's pretty bad. But when you consider the others that are needing to pit, they're going to move forward. This is not actually as bad as it initially looks. Things are still good, and let's be honest, Dennis Jordan doesn't really care one iota about winning this race. It's about winning the championship. That is the important bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So at the moment, if this stays green, the top 4 will they make it to the end? Because Mistral hasn't done a very long stint there at all. He's going to need to do 2:23s, and he's barely made 21 laps there. So he might be in trouble. He might not even make it. What about Schmidt, Braxtock and Howard? How far can they go in this one? There's not 25 laps to go, excuse me. There's 45. But, can they go at least 1 more, 2 more here? And then they might be able to do it. But Kasdorp and Vosdorp, I think this is very clever from Kasdorp. Ooh. He knows this is going to slow them down. It's going to bring them into the clutches of Dennis Jordan, and that might be why he's doing it. But Howard is the only one able to go a lot longer. Schmidt and Braxtock even are going to be struggling to make it here.
Yeah, if Howard can just save that little bit more fuel, gain another lap, and like you say, do that twice more, then genuinely, no joke, is well in contention for this victory. We just don't know how it's going to unfold, and that is what makes this fantastic. Howard's coming through T3 and then into T4 now, so we'll have to wait and see. Dives into pit lane. I'm going to say it's a lap shy.
Well, I'm not convinced. He's just done 22 laps there. He's just done 22 laps, and there's 44 remaining. So if he does that again twice, he's fine. For me, I think he will be fine. But you just don't know at this stage. The thing that he had an advantage there, it was especially towards the end of that stint, he was in with a group and he was able to save. But it's a golden opportunity for those 4 or 5 we saw who filter out front of the field at the end of every pit stop cycle. Why are they not trying harder to save fuel? Because they've got a 30-second advantage over the main field, over the front of the field. Why are they not trying harder to save fuel? Yeah. It is a golden, almost once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for one of those people to win.
Yeah, you'd literally just... It's kind of one of those mods where you're a driver, you get past a fuel number by your race director or by your
not doing that.
Your race engineer. You think, well, you get that, you get past you've got to do 1.8 litres a lap, and you go, that is impossible. And the only response you have as a race engineer is just make it work. Do it. Get that fuel. Because like you say, 30 seconds is a lifetime around this circuit. It's not far off a lap. Yes, you're going to lose an awful lot of that. 20, 30. Hey, lose 25, 28, 29 seconds of it. As long as you come across that line as the leader, we're all good. And you're absolutely right. Find the fuel. Just save it in whatever way you need to. Hook up with someone that you absolutely detest, for all I care. Just sit in that slipstream and save the fuel. And this could work out for them, mostly to the likes of Liam Howard, who has that extra couple of laps on the rest of the group. We'll have to wait and see how that one's going to unfold, but I really do not know. Take a look at this group with Hoyer, Mrocek, you've got Burliak in there as well, another burst driver in the form of Cam Roger, who's having a fantastic run here at Indianapolis. Deval, Pignataro as well, all up involved in that group. 6 cars inside the top 10 towards the back end, battling out over a top 5 at Indianapolis.
Yeah, is the question for these guys, is it going to be only a top 5 for them, or have they got the pace to get up towards the leaders in this one? That is the real question, because there's no fuel games that these guys can play at this point. These guys have got a little bit closer, the likes of Dennis Jordan, etc., and Preston Burliak, Liam Deval, but are they close enough? Probably not. So they're in this in the same boat as those leaders. Can they get up to them? They're not really making any inroads at the moment. 15 seconds down on Rui Kasdorp at the moment. But just to go back to Liam Howard for a moment, he is in with a group at least. He is in with a group right now in 18th position. He's just behind Morville. He's got Roivers right behind him, Scrovron as well. Here he is. He's got a teammate behind, which is very helpful. And if Roivers, and this would take a big call from Roivers, but if he were to sacrifice his chances of winning a championship for Howard to possibly win this race, then I'd certainly be getting Roivers straight in front of Howard to save as much fuel for Howard as possible. But I'm not trying to be...
Yeah, that's a big call.
I know it's a very big call, but it's difficult decisions to make at Netrex at the moment. But what I will say, without being disrespectful to Howard, he's coming through from the Indy Am Championship. He's had to qualify his way into this race. how many more chances is he going to get to win a top-level race like this against the company that he is in? This is almost a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for a driver like him to be making this. Sit behind people, save fuel. You've got a 30-second lead. He had a 30-second lead over everybody, and he's currently nearly going 3 wide with his teammates at the minute, going side by side with battles he doesn't really need to at this stage in the race. I would be cutting my arm off right now to save that fuel, because how many more opportunities is he going to get?
No, you're 100% right, especially like you say, yes, Roivers Championship, I get it, but you're losing an awful lot of time. It's not an easy call for any of the race direction from Netrex. I know Jürgen Van Bergen and Adam Rainey will probably be communicating just a little bit here just to make sure that everything's working on their part. But right now, title obviously will always take precedence, but he's well down at the moment as Berliak going very, very deep there at 3. Just trying to hang on to the position from Cam Roger, who's himself trying to hang on from Pignataro, Liam Duval at the rear end of this group. They're all going to still sit in the same formation they were a good few laps ago. Less than 40 laps on the clock here at Indianapolis. There is not long left to go in this race. We are in for a tight finish, that is for sure. It's just who's going to be battling it out for the race victory. It does seem at least one Netrex, if everything continues on like this, is going to battle it out for the race lead. Vosnitsa still in second position and saving the fuel behind Yuri Kasdorp, who is definitely the driver that's going to lead the most laps here at the Brickyard as he continues his run out towards the front. And obviously we must remember that Yuri Kasdorp was victorious at Apple Valley as well, so does like his oval racing a little bit.
Well, he's enjoying it at the moment, certainly. And for Netrex right now, as we see Roger trying to get down the inside of Berliak right now. These guys not making any inroads to those leaders, as opposed to Sepkowski and Jordan, who are starting to get towards the front again and close that margin. But, Netrex have got a complete hold on the strategy of this race. They've got their eggs in multiple baskets, to change that phrase, because they've got, in case this race doesn't come down to, and if it's a dash at the end with a late caution, they've got Vosnica right up there raring to go, and he's got a great chance at beating Kasdorp in a one-on-one fist fight. But also they've got Liam Howard to maybe strategize his way and fuel save his way onto the victory here. So they've got 2 cars with a possibility of winning, depending on which way this strategy goes. Whether it goes the fuel way or not, they have got somebody in contention with this race win.
Yeah, they're like you say, they're spreading themselves out. They've taken a gamble on strategy, courtesy of how the cautions fell earlier on in the race, and like you say, it might well work out. Although this does have some eerie similarities to a certain other open wheel championship that wrapped up in December, where it was all looking so good for one driver, and then suddenly late drama, and then it all swung the other way. Dennis Jordan might well be thinking of that exact example. Sat there in 4th spot. The championship will be his if everything finishes the way it is. But this is Indianapolis. Things don't tend to go the way that you expect them. If we get a caution, things can really be thrown against the wall, and you never really know how that's going to unfold. So I'm sure the heart will be racing until the checkered flag comes out. Back to our race leaders, as also a little bit of lap traffic for Stepkowski and Dennis Jordan, one of the Netrex drivers. I believe it is that's between them. Might well have just been my eye there, but either way, Yuri Kasdorp continuing to lead. Back to Dennis Jordan. It is. There we go. Danny Van Den Eet is between the two of them.
Yes, he is. He's waiting for that caution, if indeed there is going to be one. He's certainly going to be up there if there is, but I quite frankly don't want there to be. This is absolutely fascinating. It really has been an amazing race, and even though there's not anybody going side by side right now, the fascination and the anticipation as to what might happen a little bit later on is really certainly keeping me on the edge of my seat, and this group is starting to get a bit restless as well. Ooh. Cam Roger particularly is getting a bit impatient on the back of Berliak.
Yeah, imagine telling Cam earlier on in the day, he's been like, yeah, you're going to try and overtake the 2015 world champion. Off he goes down, have a good time. Here's Cameron Roger around the outside, Yuri Kasdorp into the pit lane earlier than everyone else, as expected, running way more aggressive at the front. He is consolidated the fact that he's got to come into the pit lane at least once more this afternoon, as side by side Berliak to the inside of Marotchek, running down into 3, might well pick up the spots as he'll gather a little bit of slipstream from Michi Hoyer, but Hoyer will obviously try and assist his teammate in this scenario, and There we go. Still, Marocek able to hang on. Deval and Pignataro as well were side by side off a four just in the background. And once again, a great run from Berjak, but he's going to sit in line and he's going to save the fuel.
He is. And that's a smart thing to do. This championship really starting to slip away from Berjak, though. We're talking about the, what might happen with the race win, but Berjak needs to beat Jordan today, and he's 13-14 seconds behind at the moment. We've got a yellow flag in the final sector.
Must be pit entry.
Stopped somebody, pit entry. I think
Maguire,
maybe, yeah.
Would have been Maguire.
DNF.
Maguire's out of the race. Adam Maguire is out of the race, and someone is on the pit relief. On the inside, is that Danny van der Niet or Cas Rietveld, who is, I think it might be van der Niet, who's on the inside and now returns into pit lane. So clearly something's been going on. Let's take a look at what happened to Adam Maguire in pit lane and looking to leave his box.
Leaving and
bailing.
Well, leaving in more ways than one actually. So there we are, DNF for him. Clearly had enough. Doesn't believe there's going to be another caution, and I'm sure Liam Howard doesn't want to believe there's going to be one either at the moment, because he's in a strong place. But
Maguire got a drive-through penalty, so clearly, because you don't get the drive-through penalty immediately, it's only when you've left pit lane and clearly went, I don't want to do this anymore.
No, he was turning into quite a couple of laps down at that point, to be fair to him, because that was not the first time he's done that today, was it? That's what took him out of contention initially, and I'm afraid he's really struggled to get that car slowed down today.
Deval up into the wall there at T1. Seeing quite a bit of that. Jan Vosnitzer 22 laps onto the board, still 30 to go here at Indianapolis, so he'll be onto the pit lane fairly shortly. Should be at the end of this lap. He'll dive down into pit lane once again into the barrier. David Marocek, and this is allowing Berjak to get to the outside. Berjak's going to carry the momentum off of the corner, side by side, getting pushed up into the wall by Marocek. Once again coming down as Berjak was trying to judge that one a little bit better, but got it a little bit wrong. His calculations a bit off, and Cam Rogers going to drop the position to Pignataro to the inside once again. These two pinching each other. We've seen that before today. Roger down one, down two, as Deval's also going to come through.
He is indeed. This is getting very aggressive now. Marocek doesn't want to give the position up. Berjak has had enough of sitting behind him, and the overspeed here is too much. Straight round the outside for Berjak. He's finally found his way through, but that really took quite a lot longer than it should have done.
Yeah. Was like I say, the pinching between the two of those is always going to end in drama, and there goes Marocek down to pit lane, the only one from that group to buy a ticket onto pit lane. Yannick Bock, Frenzy also into the pit lane, of course. We saw Michi Hoyer, we saw Morville, Roivers all coming down into the pit lane for their penultimate stop, not only of the race but of the season as well, potentially depending on cautions. We'll have to wait and see how that one unfolds. That was very much a terms and conditions apply type scenario. Michi Hoyer just ahead of Berjak then, so two drivers that have had their fair share of victories in the Formula Sim Racing World Championship now will go toe to toe, but one is a lap down on the other.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen this a couple of times already today, I'm afraid, because with lap traffic and so on and so forth. But this time it's the right way around, you might say. Berjak getting through rather nicely there. But even though Dennis Jordan running out there on his own in the lead of this race, Berjak still not catching him at all. It just makes you wonder what is going on here in this group, because surely they were running in single file for quite a long time, but not able to catch the leaders at all. Looks like they're going to end up scrapping for 5th place in this race, and it's just not going to be enough for Petter Berjak.
Yeah, the title very much slipping through the fingers, and now needs outside assistance, needs a bit of a miracle, needs the sim racing gods to smile down upon them for anything to happen in the final moments of this race. Obviously, completing this lap going towards the end of the race. I mean, realistically, 23. Maybe he's trying to save enough fuel to do it on just one stop. I think that is way too much to ask for. But he's still going a lap longer than Dennis Jordan, so I think it's too much to ask for, though.
This will be 24. There's only 25 laps to go here, so if he can go one more, maybe there is a chance here. Or at least if he can go one more, he's proven that he can do it. But then again, that would be 25 laps on a stint. So is he going to be able to here?
Yeah,
no, not quite. So we are getting very close. The magic number for Lee Howard, Liam, I keep calling him Lee Howard. I think he used to be a goalkeeper for Everton. Liam Howard, 98 is the lap. I think that he needs that he needs to reach if he wants to win, or at least if he wants to make it to the end of this race. But I think our graphics have frozen, so we don't quite know where we are.
You don't support. Oh wow, that's that happened on the end at Apple Valley. So I'm glad that happened before the end here at Indianapolis, so we don't miss this fantastic finale as we look at Yuri Kasdorp here. Just give you a bit of a rundown as to what's going on. Dennis Jordan has just come into the pit lane. We'll get the graphics back as soon as possible. That's me throwing the pressure onto the shoulders of Felix van Delft. Pignataro is currently leading the race then, courtesy of the pit lane entrance from Dennis Jordan and Liam Deval. Mistral also onto the pit lane as Janis Brakshock is up in 2. Oh, I was going to say up into the barrier, but I keep assuming that Janis Brakshock's an HME driver, forgetting that he drives for Arnage now. I'm getting really thrown off by that.
But yeah, I wish they'd stop moving because it does get a bit confusing. But yeah, the two Burst eSport cars going side by side through there. Just waiting to see how far these guys can go really at this point, and just try see where we are and who's going to make it and whatnot, and if we're going to stay green to the end, to be honest, which looking more and more likely with every lap.
Now, the graphics, we do have a slight issue on this point, so hopefully we'll be able to potentially bounce and get them back. This is all on Felix's shoulders, though, so apologies for him. This is an issue that we're trying to sort desperately, but we'll have to wait and see how we do that. Might have to go full radio show for a little while before we reach the end of this race. There is still plenty of time left to go, 20 laps before we reach the final moments of this race. Laps coming in. Schmidt now the leader as other drivers come down onto pit lane. Howard as well is up there in second position, of course, we know, going longer, and has an 11-second lead over Yuri Kasdorp, approaching what could be the final stint of the race. And bearing in mind that there is 21 laps to go, Liam Howard could get to the checkered flag. They could absolutely get to the checkered flag. This is interesting.
Howard can, so lap 100, Howard can definitely make it here by the looks of things, but what is his margin going? Oh goodness, it's going to be close, because let's not forget here, he had a 30-second lead before. It's down to 17 already, which is already concerning. But this last pit stop for Kasdorp and Vosdica is going to be shorter. It's going to be shorter than it was for the normal. He doesn't need to take on a full tank, so how much shorter is it going to be? Is Howard going to be able to hang on to this? It's going to be very close, but we didn't quite see who was able to go long there. Who has gone the longest out of all of the other competitors. Can anybody else make it? Maybe can a Dennis Jordan maybe stretch this one, realizing that this race might actually go the distance? What's their fuel situation like? We just really don't know.
Well, Dennis Jordan's he went 24 laps on the previous stint. I think he'd be 1, maybe 2 laps short on this one.
Depends when he came in. What if he came in
3
lap
laps
96?
Ago, no, he might just about do it.
He might make it here. So as Lee Howard comes in on lap 100.
Lee Howard, the goalkeeper of Everton.
Liam Howard. I'm so sorry. It just rolls off the tongue so well.
Ex-goalkeeper.
I'm sorry. Not anymore.
You're not an Everton fan, are you?
No.
Okay, just making sure. I think I'd have to disown you as a friend in that scenario.
I support good teams.
Like what? Don't tell me not.
The team that just beat yours about an hour ago.
Okay, we're all right. We're all right. We'll move on from this topic, otherwise we're going to get in big trouble. As Liam Howard departs pit lane, great strategy must be said from the pit wall there. Adam Laney guiding the strategy of Liam Howard through this race, but unfortunately, dependent on how the fuel savings gone for the likes of Dennis Jordan, might not work out. You can see there at the top of the leaderboard, Yuri Kasdorp leading the way from Jan Vosnitzer, who should have to come into the pit lane once more. Stepkowski also. Dennis Jordan, massive question mark as to whether he needs to come to pit lane once more. This is Dennis Jordan we're talking about, a master when it comes to fuel. I think he might well just save it on. Yellow flag in sector 2 briefly, getting us all panicked.
Yeah, it is. But no, Dennis Jordan was the only one in the main race at Indianapolis GP to do that on one stop. Traditionally, these are 2-stop races in the main race, or in the feature race, as they're called. And, it's Dennis Jordan was the only one to be able to do it on one stop. I think it disadvantaged him in the end, actually, but considering how his race was panning out, he picked up the most of the points that he needed to. I'm a little bit surprised that he's taking the risk here, of actually running out of fuel, because obviously the championship surely would be towards the forefront of his mind. However, he's clearly willing to go for this, and I fully respect that.
The thing is, he to bring the championship into this and to speak about it, because obviously what you're saying there is, you'd almost think, well, surely you'd do anything to win a championship. But it's kind of like, in this sense, risking running out of fuel
when you've already got it.
When you've already got it, exactly, because he just needs to finish ahead of Berwick, who is going on shorter stints than Jordan anyway. Or Berwick's did a longer stint, but is pitting a lap early, so you know that you have the fuel mileage on Berwick anyway. So it's kind of like, just copy and paste his strategy and you'll beat him, and then you'll probably win the championship. But this is Dennis Jordan. They know their strategy in and out. If there's someone that knows they can restart, if they can get the distance done, it should be all right. Was that Marocek up into the wall, or was that our boy Cam? It was our boy Cam, of course it was.
It was Cam. Yeah, sorry about that. But yeah, this is such a disaster but it's just not gone his way today. Berlick. He was in the lead of this championship, wasn't he, for a few metres on the back straight when Zoltz was getting involved with Dennis Jordan a little bit earlier on in this green flag run. But it's falling apart for him now. He's had to go in the pit lane.
Into the pit lane. Might have a little bit of a break on stream just for a second before we head into the final moments of the race, so don't go anywhere. We will be back. Just remember, you need to restart the stream to OBS. Well, we are back live then. Hopefully everything is all well and good on our end as we approach the final moments of this race that Yuri Kasdorp is leading. Jan Vosnitzer, Stepkowski and Dennis Jordan behind the final moments of this championship fight. Let's see how things are unfolding over the final moments of the race. Technical issues aside, our overlay is back. We're all good to go, so no need to panic on our part as we can see Beryak then in 9th position. Behind Marocek, of course, Cam Roger, just as we stepped away, had to dive his way down pit lane after making a silly boy mistake and up into the barrier. He's dropped down now outside of the top 10, but won't have to pit anymore, so who knows.
Yeah, look here, Lewis, how slow Dennis Jordan is. He's going so slow. This is a man saving fuel like you would not believe at the moment, because he was only 12 seconds off the leader as he came out the pit lane. He's already lost 11 seconds. He's only been out for 10 laps. If he loses that again, he's going to be in the clutches of Liam Howard before too long. Well, I say that, he's actually about 25 seconds in front of him, so it might still be all right. But this is dangerous here from Dennis Jordan. He's putting the championship on the line for an Indy300 victory, and you've got to respect the amount of commitment that he's putting into this race right now. But he's finally found some friends, so he might be able to save a little bit of fuel. Yep. But my goodness, this is so tense at the minute, and 13 laps to go, far too many as far as Dennis Jordan is concerned. Can he do this or not? That is the real question. It's going to be so close.
Yeah, he just needs to drop to the rear end of this little group and just save fuel. Save fuel. That's all he needs to do. And you can see here, obviously not even remotely fighting the back marker of Zoltz, who's got to the inside, and then Michi Hoyer's next. And then, of course, you've got Liam Deval Pignataro as well. And once he's there, he'll just sit. He'll save fuel. Yuri Kasdorp's already onto pit lane. Zoltz defending all the way down to the wall. I mean, fair enough, but that's opened the door for Deval to get past Michi Hoyer.
Yeah, Kasdorp's in the pit lane here, but how far behind is he going to end up from his teammate? And is he going to get out in front of Liam Howard here? Well, the answer to that is going to be possibly no. But he's still going to have to come down the pit lane. So Kasdorp is not out of this race either. Even if this becomes fuel mileage for those at the front, Kasdorp is not out of this. Howard has only just got in front of him there, very slightly, and Howard still has to go fuel saving. Kasdorp will not. So this is not a slam dunk victory, even if it becomes a fuel race. Only 6 seconds is his gap.
And Liam Howard there, the next car for track position up the road from Yuri Kasdorp as well. So for Howard, 5 seconds clear of Kasdorp. Still needs to save a little bit of fuel to get to the end of the race, but is still on for at least a good result regardless, which I think, whether it's a race victory or not, hey, a top 5, a top 10, whatever it is, running that strategy mileage, those numbers have been crunched very, very well indeed. Jan Vosnitzer then is going to lead here at Indianapolis and is going to continue to do so for another few laps before returning the way of pit lane, and may well have too large of a gap as Stepkovski's into the pit lane. Might have too large of a gap to deal with to get back onto Yuri Kasdorp. We'll have to wait and see when Vosnitzer comes back into pit lane as Pignataro is looking down the inside of Hoyer.
Yeah, absolutely. This group not going too slowly. Dennis Jordan able to stick with these guys and saving fuel now. He's got a 27-second lead over Howard and Kasdorp as there's a car on the wall. I think it was not McDuff, might be Fabian Barley.
Danny Van Der Neat, I think it might
Danny
have
been.
been. Having a big crash.
Oh, dear.
I can hear a crash.
Yeah, it is. Van Der Neat. Is a caution necessary in the final 8 minutes of this race or not?
He's well on the inside. Might well be able to slowly get this one back into pit lane. Definitely was hearing the contact of that. Oh, these are nervy moments for the group. Dennis Jordan is pretty much the only driver on the grid that's like, please don't be a caution, please don't be a caution, please don't be a caution, because he'll be running his numbers even in his own head. He'll know what's going on here. He'll know whether he needs to come into pit lane even now. It's not really a risk, a chance or anything. It's just a fact. The numbers don't lie.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, I really don't know. I really don't know who can make it at this stage. We look at Ferenczi here. He really has been involved in a few incidents today. That's Van Der Neat in front, and he's not going to rejoin very well.
Oh no!
Oh dear.
That was.
Oh no!
That was pretty poor from Danny Van Der Neat. Oh, and that is pretty scary from Ferenczi, who's trying to just get this car to a stop and then escape. You can see the intent. He was trying to get it back on the track, but he's completely pinned at that point and then realises, oh, actually, I need to slow down to get it. And then, it all happens very quickly. I'll give him credit on that one. But that was pretty badly housed.
Yeah, it does all happen very quickly, to be fair to him. But thankfully, we're going to stay green. And since we're approaching the final 5 laps of this race where we can't actually get a caution, unless for complete catastrophe, then it looks like we're going to stay green until the very end of this race. But who can make it on fuel is the real question. You've got to wonder, if Dennis Jordan can, or we're thinking he can, what about Pignataro? Because he's got a lap on Dennis Jordan here in terms of the fuel.
Berliak will as well.
And Deval, Berliak, yeah,
Berliak might do this actually, considering he's obviously went has been a lap longer. You can see there has done 18 laps on this stint. Although I'm even thinking about that because it was obviously 18 laps since his last stint. I think Berliak's going to be a little bit too tight on fuel to do it. Can normally go about 24 laps, but still might be a little bit tight. Who knows on that part? Jan Vosnitzer 100% needs to come into pit lane this time by definitely, the next couple of laps. Definitely has not saved enough fuel to make that one stick. But the rest of this group, big question mark. Big question mark.
Look at how much they're saving at the moment. Berliak's going to be kicking himself that he got caught up in this group that you're seeing with Deval, Pignataro and Jordan. Kind of got split in two really, with the Burst Esport cars on the wrong side of it, and they managed to take Petter Berliak with them. I don't think intentionally, but he got caught up behind it all. And so he's now 15 seconds behind where he ideally should be. But look at Pignataro, he's through now. Dennis Jordan wants to be behind as many cars as possible at the moment. Just saving. Pignataro needs to do 23 laps to the end of this race. He might be able to make it here. He really might. And Schmidt in fifth place at the moment only has to do 22 laps to get to the end. So he's almost certainly making it. Vosdica is in. I'm pretty sure Liam Howard is going to make it as well. But whether he's going to win at the moment seems like a long shot all of a sudden.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily sure on the hopes for Liam Howard. But again, they're just looking for a good result.
Jordan's so slow compared to everybody else. He's losing the draft here. He is on the limit right now. And this is putting the championship into jeopardy.
But he's got 20 seconds back to back. So even then, he could almost come out of 2 and just clutch in. And just let it roll, and just continue. That is heart and mouth moment, but that's how much time he has over his nearest rival that we think definitely has to come into the pit lane. So he's got even more time to the car further behind that.
Yeah, only 3 laps to go. Is Berliak going to make it as well? It's a really tantalising prospect. Duval and Pignataro might well be 2 for 2 fist fight towards the end here. They've got lap cars here as well. 3 wide into 1. Liam Duval was trying to head down the inside and put some space between himself and his rivals. It's not happened, and here comes Dennis Jordan.
Well, we've got 3 laps left to go here at the Brickyard then. Liam Duval leads from Pignataro, from Dennis Jordan, who has closed that gap in. Janis Brakshock, Schmidt and Berliak as well. Who needs to make the stop? Jukka-Pekka Laulu has come down into pit lane for Royal Blue, as the lap traffic is also causing its fair issues within this group. The 2 leaders of this group are a lap down on this group. It's that 3rd car in line that you're keeping an eye on Liam Duval. Back towards Berliak, who's on the rear end of Howard, as he continues to save fuel and save fuel and save fuel. This is not looking good, as Jordan's got back to the inside of Pignataro. 2 laps to go.
And as a championship leader, this is exactly where you don't want to be. He cannot get caught up in this. He looks like he's saved the fuel that he needs to, because all of a sudden he's on the attack here, but he doesn't need to be here. There's 6 cars in this group, all of which very aggressive, and he just needs to finish this race with his main championship rival absolutely on his knees towards the end of this race.
Yellow flag out, 1 car on the inside. I believe it might well be Jukka-Pekka Laulu, who's departed the pit lane and already caused an incident on that departure of pit lane. White flag is in the air, 1 lap left to go. This is the battle for the victory, and Dennis Jordan's got side by side with Liam Duval. These were the 2 that finished 1 and 2 at Indianapolis. Up the wall, and there is Dennis Jordan into the barrier. Oh, that is high drama already. I think Dennis Jordan is just going to back out of this one and settle for 3rd spot. That was way too risky. I'm not sure which of the burst drivers it was, whether it was, I believe, David Marocek, who was just in a little bit too hot. Liam Duval then is leading by 1.3 seconds going into T3 with the slipstream as well. This could all work out. We weren't sure who was saving enough at the moment for Wolves GR, for the driver that finished runner-up at the Brickyard 12 months to go, is going to take victory as Duval hits the line. Pignataro takes 2nd, and Dennis Jordan, for the first time in his FSR career, is victorious in a championship. It took 3rd place at the Brickyard, but that was enough, well ahead of his title rivals. Schmidt and Brakshock come around inside the top 5. Liam Howard, fantastic strategy from that wall up to 6th. Yuri Kasdorp only good enough for 7th, and then the other title rivals, Berliak and Vosnitsa, 8th and 9th. They were just pushing so hard all day. It really wasn't the day though for Noah Roivers. 16th place, a lap down. He'll have a pretty sad run of it and the exit of Indianapolis, but still fought very, very well through the season against World Championship drivers that he'll definitely have to take on a lot more in 2022.
Fantastic. What a great race that was, though. What an absolutely fantastic race. And Dennis Jordan, we're on board with him now, eventually champion by 12 points. And given the way the race results have gone and the championship standings, you might think that it was a bit of a mundane race, but what a fantastic event it was. And Dennis Jordan must have seen the championship flash before his eyes through turn 1 there, as he saw that burst car head up towards him, and he headed straight into the wall. You know, he must have thought it was over at that point, but thankfully he managed to stay out of it all. Pignataro, I think, wasn't entirely done with fuel saving actually on that final lap. He dropped back. Liam Duval is out now, and I think that just shows how close it was. Everybody was completely on their limit towards the end there. Duval the winner in the end, and I'm not entirely sure, but certainly at this level it's Liam Duval's first win. He's not done it in the World Championship before. 2nd place, his best result. Not done it in IndyPRO before either, but finally now it is his day.
Yeah, has never won a race in FSR. 2nd was his highest finish, which is achieved 3 times across any series. But our look at the finishers from the final round of the FSR IndyPRO at the Indianapolis 300. Liam Duval, Pignataro and Dennis Jordan, your podium. We'll be catching up with those in a few moments' time. Pascal Schmidt and Janis Brakshock, with Liam Howard having been promoted from Indy into the race. 6th position from him, the highest of those. Fantastic stuff. Yuri Kasdorp led the most laps of the day, but it wasn't enough to lead the final one, with Petr Belyak, Jan Vosnitsa and Stepkowski rounding out your top 10. But of course, 33 drivers took to the start of the race. More of those Indy drivers, as Fabian Barlow was in 11th position, Michi Hoyer, David Marocek, Kevin Morville, Mistral, Noah Roivers, shame to end the season like that, but still, again, I think needs to have his head up high because it was a great season. Skovron, Rory McDuff, a bit disappointed to end down in 18th spot with Yannick Bock and Thomas Vack down in 20th. The final drivers to round out the top 30 and really head down towards the end of the grid because we've got a few retirements in this group as well. Jake Dennehan and Cam Roger. Cam Roger was spent most of the day inside the top 10 with Kaz Rietveld and Jukka Pekalali retiring in the final couple of laps of the race. Zolt Schuch, Adam Pinsesh and Carlos Martin. Carlos Martin helping out his team an awful lot today. Unfortunately, not quite enough to come up with the championship good. Danny van der Neet, Ferenczi and Adam Maguire, after another speeding in pit lane, retires from the race. Moralato, Jacob Reed, ignore Nick Bond, as that's our safety car, who's in 33rd spot. Finished ahead of Alex Hallows, apparently, did more laps. Good shout, well done. The safety car finishes 33rd. That is a great way to finish off things at the moment. We've got Liam Duval here, though, in the commentary booth, a driver who not only has secured a race victory here at the Brickyard, but also, I believe, as far as my maths goes, a top 5 in the championship as well. Liam, that was a tense end to the race. It was frantic from all sides. You had back markers. How did you keep yourself calm in all of that?
Well, to be honest, I didn't. I was screaming, but yeah, I don't know. There was 2 back markers who, they didn't want to be let by, obviously, but I was just trying to stay calm behind them because I needed to save fuel. I think I finished with like open 4 liters left. But then at the end, yeah, obviously Dennis was going to go for it. I was just trying to stay calm because I had a feeling an incident was going to happen. It was kind of on the way, but I don't know. Dennis dropped back so much from like 8 seconds ahead. I thought he had it in the bag. I was going for a podium, and then suddenly he dropped back. Maybe he didn't have enough fuel, but yeah, I just tried staying as calm as possible. And when I saw the burst going wide and collecting, I think Dennis, I know, I love Dennis, but I was pretty happy then, and I'm happy me and Dennis both got a podium again. And also Pignataro, really good job. I think we worked together really well this race. We didn't talk at all, but I think we felt each other on what to do with slipstreams and stuff. And I think this got us the 1-2. So congratulations to him as well. It's a really, really good result.
Let's talk about the last time we raced here at Indianapolis around the Oval was obviously, you said before, another podium for you and for Dennis Jordan as well. You two were on the podium in the previous season as well. Of course, Dennis Jordan victorious that day. You were second that day. Did you learn anything from that race that you were kind of keeping in your mind as to how these races unfold? Of course, you spent quite a bit of the day further down inside the top 10. Did you learn something that sort of brought you up towards the end and the important part of this race?
I think the thing I did wrong last year was in the last stint, I was going too hard. I was trying to stay in a good position, but I ruined my tires. And when we got clear air, Dennis just blasted, and he won the race. And I think this race, I was really keeping my tires cool and not putting too much stress on them, saving my fuel. And I didn't really do anything risky until the end, really. I was just fuel saving every single lap of this race. Crazily enough, it actually came down to 1 lap, but I didn't know it was because obviously safety cars are so unpredictable and stuff. So I guess I was just very lucky, but I guess it's a sign that me and Dennis are up here again. So it's good to see him.
Clearly the best Oval racers across the series. We'll catch up with Dennis in just a moment because obviously champions as well. We need to really have a good chat with Dennis. So we'll actually go to Roberto Pignataro first. Second place. Where did that come from?
I don't know. I literally don't know. I just spent the whole race behind Liam, trying to save fuel, trying to save as much fuel as I could, and then we got stuck behind the whole burst train. I think there were old burst cars, so I didn't even feel I was going to get a podium. I was settling for P5 or something about that, and literally in the last lap, I was trying to get behind Liam, but in turn 2, instead of upshifting, I downshifted, so I went into third, and that is probably what cost me the probable victory, or at least the fight for the victory. But yeah, how
was it out there? Because it was pretty intense at times. It was calm at others. When everything was single file. Were you fairly calm through the race? Did it just build up as it was getting on, especially with the back markers getting involved, or was everything fairly well maintained on your side?
I mean, my goal for this race was to stay out of trouble, keep it clean, try not to kill anyone, and that which is something I did, unfortunately, because I killed Adam, and I really apologize to him. And I also nearly killed Dennis. So yeah, it was pretty hectic, but there was some parts of the race which were pretty calm. So I think it was well managed by my side. I literally didn't expect this podium or to fight for the victory even. So I mean, it was a good race.
Well, we'll head over then. Again, massive congratulations to both Pignataro and to Duval as well. Great first and a great second place as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
To DJ, to Dennis Jordan, to a champion in FSR. Finally, second place last season, first place in the standings this time. Congratulations. How is it feeling right now?
Yeah, thanks. I'm a bit disappointed that I didn't win the race in the end, because I think I had a chance. But yeah, that last lap was quite crazy. So I'm just happy I'm still alive and could secure the championship.
Now, let's speak of it from your point of view, because obviously, you know, eyes would have been focused. You had 3 championship rivals to focus on in Vosnitsa and Roivers, and of course, through the latter moments as well with Berliak as well. Were you kind of pretty confident in those, say, final 30 laps, the final quarter of the race, that you had them beat, that you were fairly comfortable with where you were? Of course, you know, cautions could come out at any point, but should it go green as it did, were you pretty satisfied with where your strategy was and where they were?
Yeah, I was a bit scared of Woznica because I don't know what the gap points-wise was ahead of the race to him. So if the caution would have come out and he maybe could have just like coasted it into the finish line, then maybe could have been close. I don't know. So yeah, I didn't want to lose any unnecessary positions, but once I found someone to draft off in the last in to make the fuel mileage, I was pretty confident. Yeah.
Now, when it comes to preparation for an oval, there's not so much you can do in a thing like this where it's fixed setup and the such. Is there anything that you can do in extra preparation to get ready for an event like this? Because realistically, it's just racing. And there's something that clearly makes a difference. I mean, you and Liam have been on the podium here for the second consecutive Indy300.
Yeah, I think the main point that you can really practice with is with friends or teammates. Just run together. Run behind someone, try to defend, try to overtake. Just how do the tires behave over a stint when you're in a bigger train? And because like when you're in the race and you never like experienced that, then it's kind of hard to really adjust to that. But if you went through all these scenarios once before already, then you kind of just have that muscle memory, and that helps.
Well, I'm going to say it. Massive congratulations to you, Dennis. It's been a hard season, but a fantastically fought championship. Shame you didn't get the win in the end there and go back to back on 300s, but still a great effort nonetheless.
Thank you.
Well, we are going to grab an interview then from one other group of people. This is a trio of them that jump in with us here because Teams Championships, Netrex P1 Sim Grand Prix winning the championship. And obviously, we've got to catch up with them. Jürgen van Bergen, not the greatest day, unfortunately, with where the drivers finished. We'll be catching up with those in just a moment. But talk to it from your own point of view as to how it feels to win the title, teams-wise, to have 2 drivers in championship contention until those very, very last moments. It must be a great season for the team.
Yes, definitely. I mean, I was just talking with the guys and I said, like, when we started off with this league, we were like, we will see where we end up. And we had the beautiful race at Indianapolis that I definitely will not forget. From there it just went so well. It's just the ovals. I remember Dennis saying in Sebring, the ovals is where the luck happens, and the luck was not on our side this time, but will. I'm very happy. As I said, I wasn't expecting this. I'm very happy for my team. I'm very happy for my drivers. They're great, and I'm quite sure that they will show very well in the World Championship this year. And of course, also to our sponsor, P1 Sim, for being our title sponsor this year and having the faith in us. It's great to see that we're building our team up again from what it was in the past. So yeah, that's a little bit of a summary of how I feel about this.
Well, we'll head to one driver who definitely knows about the luck and lack thereof of oval racing, because Jan Vosnitzer, I mean, let's be honest, Apple Valley, it was going fine until the end, and then big drama here. It was just a bit all over the place, maybe the wrong choice on strategy. Do you think there's something else that you could have done to mitigate the damage and gap to Dennis Jordan?
I think I did my best, but yeah, of course I'm very happy to win the championship for the teams, but yeah, on my side, very disappointing because I've done everything I could, and I was always up there on the pace, either if it was Indy or Road America or Sebring. But yeah, just the luck was not on my side. Like in Apple Valley, I slightly touched the wall and my car exploded, and I had a screen freeze in Indy that cost me a win, and yeah, been taken out in the Road America. So yeah, luck was not on my side, but still, I'm very happy that I was in a fight for the championship, and yeah, massive thank you to the team for supporting me. I'm really grateful for that.
And then over to a driver who improved greatly over this season. Of course, last season, Noah Roy has finished 13th in the championship. This season was battling for the championship. Unfortunately, I believe it's going to be a 4th place finish in the title race, but that really doesn't do it justice as to how well it's been done through this season. Talk through your Indy race. It must have been so hard, and dealing with that pain all the way through the race, it's really not an easy one when a day goes against you like that.
Yeah, it was a really confusing race, let's say. I honestly had no idea what I was fighting for in the end. Like, I was a lap down or something, or 2 laps down. So, like, halfway through, I pretty much lost all hope of winning the championship. And the only aim I had was making sure that we got the team's championship. So I'm happy with that. I'm the most gutted about losing out to Jan, because I really wanted to beat him in the championship. I knew it was going to be tough beating Petar and Dennis. And obviously, congrats to both of them for this incredible season and making it tough for both Jan and me. But I think there are going to be a lot more championships in the future for which we're going to fight. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the next race we will participate in.
Well, congratulations to you as a team. Congratulations to Dennis Jordan for winning the championship. Just one final thing to do, though, and that's to bring Ewan O'Leary back in here and ask him for a bit of a roundup of a season that has been fantastic from start to finish. The IndyPRO seems to be becoming a mainstay in the winter series for FSR.
Well, I certainly hope it's here to stay. Who knows what's going to happen in the future? Nobody does, in terms of whether it will return. But I certainly hope it does. I've really enjoyed the races so far. You know, they've been good on the road courses, and this race here tonight was absolutely wonderful. Thrilling from start to finish, I have to say. A bit messy at the start, but it turned into a really strategical race towards the end, and I absolutely loved it, I've got to say, for Indy300. Yeah, I hope we'll be back next year, but who knows? I'm very much looking forward to the World Championship coming up now as well in the 2022 season. It's really started. It's really got my excitement building already.
Well, we'll take a look then at the championship standings. Of course, provisional. Things still need to be looked at, but still, Dennis Jordan, your champion, 213 points, 12 clear of Petar Beliak, who just did not have the pace in him today to go and challenge towards the top. Jan Vosnitzer did finish ahead of Noah Roivers by 5 points in the end of the championship, and Liam Duval, with victory, finishes up inside the top 5. Skovron, Reed, Carlos Martin, all really not having the greatest day when it comes to their challenge for the top 5, and it all came to a bit of a sad end for them. Unfortunately, speaking of sad ends, it is our time to end, and of course we've got a large degree of people to thank you, of course, to the likes of SimLab, 3D Rap and Masita Esports, to the likes of Nick Pon and to Lenz, who have been helping out behind the scenes running the race. Thomas Lenz is actually in here listening to me now, so I best not mess anything up. Felix Van Delft for doing the broadcast, cheers bud, and Cameron Roger, president of FSR, for not only commentating for a few rounds of the season, but also for jumping into the race and nearly getting a top 10. From myself, Lewis McGlade, from Ewan O'Leary, we are done here. We'll see you in a few months' time when the Formula Sim Racing World Championship returns and the 2 series that follow it as well. Until then, though, thank you very, very much, and we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.